Good morning, everyone. You are all welcome to this 2 day seminar on GST that will be today and tomorrow. All in all, we have 4 sessions. Today we'll be covering 2 sessions and tomorrow 2 sessions. Happy that many young faces have attended this program, and it can be assumed that most of the young faces are taking up the GST practice as their career as opposed to the conventional income tax practice. So, friends, we hope that these 2 days will be very much useful in your day to day practice. Let's start the program by inviting the chairperson of Vijayawada branch, CAV Narendra Babu, to please come onto the desk. I request today's first session speaker, CA BS Sudhir from Hyderabad, to please come onto the desk. I request CAG Srinivas Rao to welcome the speaker with a book bouquet. He is the past chairman of Vijayawada branch. Friends, we also recognize the presence of today's second session speaker, CA Satish Sharaf, who is also from Hyderabad. You are welcome, sir. So, friends, let me play. You know, yeah, good. Actually. Yeah, let's wait for the phrase. So, ಶಂಕರ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ದೇವೈ ಸದಾ ವಂದಿತ ಕಾಮಾನ್ಪಾತಿ ಭಗವತಿ ವಿಶೇಷ ಜಾತಃ ಯಾ ಸುಂದರೇಂದು ವಿಶಾಲಾ ಯಾ ಕುಂತೇಂದು ವಿಶಾಲಾ धवला या शुभ्र भद्रान्विता దీని తర్వాత ఫోటో సాంగ్ Please remain like that for the insert photo song. Yeah, let me say it. Good morning. One go. There's a lot of things. Right. So you are yeah, 350. Okay. And you can like the time of starting of inaugural functions. Speaking in the calendar. Yeah, I decided on that day my that time. Recently, I visited one of the temple. Chairman, just to interrupt you, ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ బోర్డ్స్ కూడా తెలుగులోకి మార్చడం జరుగుతుంది. ఇవాళ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ బోర్డ్స్ కూడా స్లోగా ఫౌండర్ తీసుకురావాలని డిసైడ్ చేయబడింది. దానికి కూడా వాళ్ళు అండ్ రీసెంట్ గా ఒక ఇంకా దేశం తెలుగు లెస్స పద్యంతో స్టార్ట్ చేయమని చేస్తారు. అందువల్ల ఇది స్టూడెంట్స్ మన జిఎస్టి ఈ కొన్ని మాటలు తెలుగులో మాట్లాడటం కన్నా కూడా ఇది ఇలాగే మాట్లాడలేదు. చేయాలని అంటే ఎస్ఐఆర్సీకి దొరికిందిలేండి, దక్షిణ భారత ప్రాంతీయ మండలి దానికి దొరికింది. అందరికి కూడా సీనియర్స్, పాస్ట్ చైర్మన్స్ అండ్ చాలా యంగ్ ఫేసెస్ కనబడుతున్నాయి. అండ్ న్యూగా చాలా చూస్తున్నాను. విజయవాడ అండ్ ఈ టుడేస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ how much is the population? And Shiv Kumar Goyal garu, మన ఏపీ మొత్తానికి డి ప్రసన్న కుమార్ గారు, వీళ్ళందరితో కూడా మేము మాట్లాడటం జరిగిందండి. వాళ్ళు జాయిన్ డ్యూ టు ऐसे ऑल ओवर दुबई हम शेयर दैट वी कैन बी द idea.
కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ ఇస్తారు సెషన్ అయిపోయిందని పట్టించుకోకూడదు అనుకుంటే క్లియర్ కట్ గా ఎండ్ టు ఎండ్ ఇవ్వాలి. దానికిగా రీచ్ అవుతుంది. 2 గంటల్లో మనకి చంపుకోవచ్చు నా అవడానికి మనం ప్రయత్నం చేయొచ్చు. మంచిగా రైటింగ్ జరుగుతుంది, వాళ్ళకి కూడా బాగుంటుంది, ఇంట్రాక్టివ్ కూడా బాగుంటుంది ఉద్దేశంతో లిమిటెడ్ స్పీకర్స్ ని వాళ్ళని కూడా రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తాం. వాళ్ళు యాక్సెప్ట్ చేశారు. అలా లిమిటెడ్ స్పీకర్స్ టాపిక్స్ అన్ని కూడా చాలా టాపిక్స్ అంటే లేటెస్ట్ రీసెంట్ అమెండ్మెంట్స్ నిన్న కూడా అమెండ్మెంట్స్ వచ్చినాయి. రోజు అమెండ్మెంట్స్ వస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. ఇవి కూడా వాళ్ళు ఇంటరాక్ట్ చేస్తారండి ఇవాళ. అది జరుగుతుంది. అండ్ దాంతో పాటు సతీష్ బాబు గారు ఉన్నారు. ఐ గ్రాండ్ వెల్కమ్ టు యూ సార్. ఫిజికల్లీ లో చూసుకొని ఉంటాను నేనైతే. అండ్ ఈసారి ఫిజికల్ గా ఇన్వైట్ చేస్తున్నాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ యాక్సెప్టింగ్ అవర్ ఇన్విటేషన్ హియర్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. అండ్ మెంబర్స్ అందరికి కూడా చాలా చాలా హ్యాపీ ఏంటంటే అండి, రిజిస్ట్రేషన్స్ 150. మేము అట్లా అనుకోలే, బయట పెడదాం అనుకున్నాం. మాకు 330+ ARF మెంబర్స్ ఉన్నారు. వాళ్ళు కాకుండా అవుట్ ఆఫ్ 11 అఫెక్షన్ ఆన్ ది బ్రాంచ్ వేరియస్ ప్లేసెస్ ఆఫ్ టోటల్ AP వాళ్ళు కూడా జాయిన్ అయి ఉన్నారు. దానికి డయాస్ మీద వచ్చి మీరు వస్తున్నారంటే రిక్వెస్ట్ చేశారు. ఎలా కూడా ఉన్నారు ఏంటండి ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇంత చక్కగా డిజైన్ చేసి నాను పాస్ట్ థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. ఎందుకంటే నడుచున్నారు కానీ రావట్లా. ఏం చేయాలో కూడా మాకు తెలియట్లా. చాలా కాన్సిక్వెన్స్ చూసి ఇవాళ మీరు ఇక్కడ నుంచున్నారు. ఏం చేయాలో కూడా మాకు తెలియట్లా.
మీరు కూడా అడగండి.
అప్పుడు కదా పొద్దున అండ్ మీరందరూ ఇలా హాల్ కూడా హ్యాపీగా అనిపిస్తున్నాము. గ్రాండ్ చేయడం కోసం నాలెడ్జ్ ఉన్నారు. ఎందుకని అనిపించిందంటే GST ప్రాక్టీస్ చూసుకుంటున్నారు. చేయవలసింది అనొచ్చు ఇక్కడ ఉన్నారు. మన నుంచి ఏరియాలో ఏమన్నా కాదండి. ఆ you are so
Chairman, these are good opportunities. These are.
yes, there is a మనకి 13 నుంచి డేటా గోల్డ్ బ్యాచ్ ఒకటి ఇచ్చారు. సేల్స్గా ఫిజికల్ బ్యాచ్ ఫస్ట్ జరగలేదు. 18 జరిగింది. తర్వాత ఫిజికల్ బ్యాచ్ జరగలేదు. ఓకే దీంట్లో ఉన్నాయి. మిగతా కోర్స్ ఎవరైతే తీయాలో చెప్తా గైడ్ చేయబోతుంది. గవర్నమెంట్ రాష్ట్రంలో ఎక్కడ ఉండడం జరిగింది. ఎవరైనా ఏ స్థానంలో ఉన్నట్లయితే జగన్లో అనుకున్నాను GST కూడా లో వన్ షాప్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఇటు ఇంట్లో watch all the programs waiting in the branch in the same manner.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Ramesh, mic iva. Mic is right. Volume rich. So thank you, Chairman, for those opening remarks. And also, I wish to bring to the notice of for the benefit of youngsters, that DISA qualification is a must if you want to take up the bank audit. And also for the periods beginning from 1/4/2025, one should also get a peer review if one need to be eligible for conducting the bank audit. That you should definitely keep in mind. And also, if you are intending to carry out the bank audit for the periods beginning for 1/4/2025, you plan to get your firm to be peer reviewed well in advance. Because the process of peer review, even though now it has been streamlined, and maybe it may take at least 2 to 3 months for one to complete the process of peer review and to get the peer review certificate. So please keep this at the back of your mind, that in order to carry out the bank audit, both the DISA as well as peer review is mandatory for the periods beginning from 1/4/2025. DISA is now already it is applicable. So friends, let me say a few words about today's speaker, VS Sudhir. He is a BCom graduate, also a law graduate, and a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And he is also a lead partner at Hiragange and Associates, and they have branches across the length and breadth of India, and they are into consultancy, audit, and litigation services in indirect taxes. He has completed his schooling and graduation in Bangalore, and also he is qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 2006. He has done his entrepreneurship development program at IIM Ahmedabad and the law degree at Usmania University. He is also an associate member of CPA Australia. He has contributed various articles for professional institutes like ICAI and ICWI, and also Trade Journal Service Tax Review and Manupatra. He is the master's trainer for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and also a faculty in National Academy of Customs, Excise and Narcotics, which trains the departmental officers. He has presented various papers in GST in various state forums like the ASOCHAM and also FICCI, also Young Indian, AP Plastic Manufacturing Association, to name a few. And he is also a visiting faculty at Watson Business School, BITS Pilani, among others. He is also a joint author for three books on GST for a national publication, which are a practical guide to GST on real estate, published by Bloomberry GST Tariff, published by Bharat Law House, and also GST Judicial Precedents, published by Tax Sutra and Commercial Law Publishers. He was a part of the Hyderabad study group on GST formulated by ICA and also contributed for the preparation of background material on GST for training the CBEC officers. He is a management committee member of FICCI and also past chairman of indirect taxes of committee of FTCCI and also co-chairman Builders Association of India at national level. He is also a member of grievance redressal committee Hyderabad and a past member of regional advisory committee of Central Excise and Service Department Hyderabad. He is an invitee for the year 23-24 to the indirect tax committee at ICI New Delhi. So, friends, with these few words, I hand over the session to today's speaker to speak about GST implications on real estate transactions. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. No? Everybody's morning is not fully charged. So, good morning, all. So, I think chairman has covered this. I thought I should start with my session acknowledging that fact that wherever I've gone, real estate topic will be given to me, but that will be given to me for only 1.5 hours. So, in this 1.5 hours, neither I can cover joint development transaction, neither the issues with the builder per se. So every time there is going to be a shortage of time and I need to rush my slides. So I think this is the first time I will be able to comfortably complete my slides, covering all, thanks to giving the entire 3 hours for this important topic. Because chairman was also telling, real estate is a subject like we all will listen to it now. Tomorrow again we'll have a confusion, right? So I want to improvise it. Tomorrow you'll have more confusion because you're right? So one basic fundamental why is confusion which is there in real estate particularly. Others, if you look at per se today, any manufacturing industry or maybe a restaurant service or a hospitality industry, you don't feel so much of complication and so much of confusion which has been there. It's there, but the intensity is not that high when it compared to real estate. So what is the reason do you think it is? Too many sections. Too many sections? Yeah. The one basic fundamental thing what has happened is when the GST was conceptualized, they told, see that today we have different taxes for goods and services. We should have one uniform tax without bifurcation, whether it's a goods or services. I need not break my head to check whether this transaction is a goods or a services. There should be a common tax either way. So that is how they conceptualized. But when they started drafting the law, separate HSN rate notification were goods, separate for services, time of supply separate, place of supply separate. So they have again internally bifurcated goods or services. Even after GST, there is a need for you to identify what you are dealing with, whether it is a goods or services, the still need is there. But because of the deeming fiction, Schedule 2 and all, they have removed various ambiguity and told this is goods, this is service for this particular purpose of GST. So now when the law was drafted, they drafted the law considering person who is dealing only goods. like a trader or a typical manufacturer. Then they also drafted the provision keeping services in mind, like maybe our chartered accountancy service or any architect service or any other pure service provider where goods is not being. Now, when it came to real estate, all they did it only one line they wrote in Schedule 2 saying that any sale of building prior to construction will be a deemed supply of service. Now, they did not realize that service when they drafted, they did not consider a service which is also having immobile property, a service which is also having a transfer of goods. They drafted pure service. Then they told for when your goods is also involved in the service, you read that law and make your compliance. That is where the entire confusion has started. So what they should have done, they should have treated this as a separate animal because it's a combination of both. They should have relooked at the levy. They should have relooked at the valuation provision. They should have relooked at the place of supply provision, time of supply provision, exclusively for real estate sector. Then the law would have been more practical and the confusions which is there today would have been arrested because they have looked at this particular sector when making a law. So this is a big miss when the introduction of the GST. In fact, through the institute, also the recommendation was being made when the draft model GST was being given to treat real estate separately and give a provision, but somehow this was not being heard. So that is a small background of why this confusion is all about. So with this, I'll be starting my topic. So there are two areas which I'll be majorly covering. So most of you would be aware. How many of you are not having a real estate financing? Right. Certainly. Doing real estate. So that is because the India is progressing, everybody are putting money in the infrastructure development and their own housing and things like that. It's going in a good pace. So this is a happening business or a happening service provider which is there. So most of you would be aware there are two wings of it. That one is that what a builder transaction with his customer is. That is when he sells his portion of flats to his customer, what are all the challenges is there? That would be my first deliberation, maybe up to the tea break. Then I will take up second very important deliberation. Everybody is having a lot of confusion here. Is that what happens with the transaction between a developer and a landlord? Right? So once we reassemble back, we will forget anything to do with builder and customer. We will be speaking only from developer and the landowner. Right? So then there we I'll also see if we can have sufficient time for the question answer because we have a very vibrant crowd here. If you get any doubt while me doing the deliberation, instead of reserving at the last, you can ask then and there, right? Because only the problem is that you will also forget this question by the end the Q&A will. So I don't want that to happen. By chance, I am taking more time to resolve that, then I'll request that to be reserved to the last. Is that model okay for all? Yes, sir. Perfect. So with this, I'll start with the first portion that is with the builders. This is a small snapshot or a recall of the rate of GST is concerned. I am not taking into any fundamentals of this vertical that what has to be taxed, what is the levy, and all those things. I am only touching on the practical issues which is going to be there and what is the possible solutions over it. So before I start with the issues, so let's look at what is the rate. So it is very important for us to understand that whenever a client is coming and he is asking you an advice on GST, the first fundamental question which you have to ask is, sir, whether your project is prior to 1st of April 2019 or after 1st of April 2019. This is a very important valid question because the project started prior to 19 are also still progressing even today. Maybe that is only about 30-40%, but still there are many projects which is happening there. Why is it? Because April 2019, they have redefined the entire taxability and a new scheme of taxation has been introduced for the real estate transaction. So there are a lot of changes in terms of the rate, ITC applicability, vagera, everything has been changed. So as a quick thing, how it was there prior to 1st of April 2018 was construction of affordable apartments. It was taxed at the rate of 8%. That is after giving the benefit of the one-third deduction towards the land, it was 8%, and you are eligible for income tax credit. Now the same affordable will be at 1%. Again, I'm not getting into in depth of what is affordable, things like that. So it is less than 50 lakh rupees, so and so carpet area and all those things. I'm not getting into those things. So it is 1% without input tax credit. Then construction of other than affordable was 12 with ITC has been reduced to 5 plus without ITC. Commercial same as is 12 remains 12. There is no charge. Then there is a commercial portion in a residential project. Okay, so what is this? You would have seen a lot of properties where ground floor they are doing it for commercial and the shops or whatever it is. From first floor onwards, there will be a residential. Now the question came up is how are you going to treat this mixed project which is going to be there? So to make life easy, what they have told that commercial area is less than 15% of the total built up area, about total carpet area which has been there. So in such case, that commercial also you treat it as residential only, pay 1 or 5% without input tax. But that is beyond 15%. It is 16 or 17 or 20 or 25%. Treat it as a commercial project only. That is 12%. You will also be eligible for taking an input tax credit. Right? So few issues around that is that you need to take the carpet area, not the sellable area, for calculating this particular effect, and also that 50 lakhs also has to be looked at as a total value which has been there. Sale of completed flats after obtaining the completion certificate, no GST will be applicable in both the regime. Then development of plots, 18% GST is there. Please mind, I have a schedule on plotting development. I know this question is going to come immediately. Sir, plot sale, no GST now. Why are we saying 18%? Please mind the words. I have used development of plots. I have not used the word sale of plots. Right? So somebody is developing the plots, the land, the GST rate is 18% with input tax credit prior to and today also. So this is a broad rate structure which has been there. So with that, let me take up the first issue, which is relating to the builder. One is on the taxability. So first fundamental question comes up is that whether on this sale which a builder is entering with his customer, whether that is a transaction involving sale of building or it is a construction service. So this is a very basic fundamental question which has to be addressed. So there is a small history for it under the service tax regime. There was this company called as Mangus Construction. So they did not take the service tax registration at all. They were making the sale of apartments and collecting the advance, and they did not pay the service tax. They did not take a service tax registration. Department issued them a letter saying that you have to take a service tax registration, not even a demand. Only they told you have to take service tax registration. These people went to the High Court, challenging that I am not liable for paying the service tax. So, what is the logic this company gave is? Please see how my transaction happens. I enter into an agreement to sell a flat, which is an immobile property, right? I take advances for selling of a flat, but I don't transfer the land or the semi-finished flat or anything to my customer. I keep on doing the construction. So who is giving the service to whom? It is a self-service because the land is with me. I am doing the construction. I'm not saying there is no construction. Construction is there, but it is constructed on my own land owned by me. Fair enough. Then I do the entire construction, take the entire configuration. Thereafter, I execute a sale deed. Then my customer becomes a owner. After that, I have not done any construction. Construction is completed prior to that. So it is a self-construction, no service tax has to be pay. What did High Court told? Right argument, you need not pay tax. And surprisingly, I think that is one of the biggest acceptance which has been done by the department is they accept this judgment. And they gave a circular 108 saying that no tax to be paid on this particular transaction. They gave a circular 108 circular. So all the builders who are paying stop paying the tax because fact is same, right? Except in the south there was a transaction, there was a practice where they were making a sale of a semi-finished flat. Thereafter they were entering into a construction agreement. Only in this fact it was not fitting. Otherwise, whoever doing AOS followed by sale deed at the end of the installment or a construction after receiving of the OC, all these people were not supposed to pay the service, right? Now, after this to overcome, now the entire revenue stopped. They also accepted and gave a circular. So after this entire thing, they introduced an explanation to this entry of residential complex where they told, see, I don't care whether the construction is self or otherwise, who is the owner and all those things. I will redefine the levy. The levy is if you are taking any advances prior to getting the completion certificate. I don't care what is the document, AOS, sale deed, what you are doing, I don't care. If you have received any money from a customer prior to completion certificate, then that is deemed to be a supply of service of residential complex or commercial complex, as the case may be, to your customer. So, as you are aware, under GST, there was a concept of deemed supply. And there are n number of times this has been challenged, and even in this also in GS promoters, it was challenged whether you could do that. So the decisions were very clear, where they told that government has the powers to deem what is service and they can tax it. So now the entire thing got redefined. Even the Mangus construction also had to pay tax because of this amendment, which was prospectively, not retrospectively. Right? So thereafter, there was an introduction of GST. Now you see how what happened in GST, very important. Under the GST, they told everything under the goods they defined, right? That is, it is movable and they gave specific exclusion. When they came service, they gave a beautiful definition of service. Anything other than goods is service. Okay, so as far as GST Act is concerned, it can be only two, whether it can be a goods or it can be a service. Where is immovable property? Immovable property is also service. In fact, one of the clarification which they gave when question was made is, no, I think you have done an error. While defining the service, who says anything other than goods, but excludes immovable property should have done, you have missed that line. And no, I've done it intentionally. Why? See, if I exclude immovable property, how will I collect tax on renting of immovable property? Supply. Renting is also a form of a supply. Then you will come and argue this is supply of immovable property. Renting is a form of supply. Renting of immovable property, supply of immovable property. Immovable property is neither goods nor services, and thereby I am keeping it out. You got the point? So thereby to tax all the allied services in respect to immovable property, they kept it within the definition of service. Then the question immediately came, that means you will collect a tax on sale of immovable property also. No, wait. There is Schedule 3. What is the Schedule 3? Schedule 3 says any items which is given under Schedule 3 is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. In their road, sale of land, sale of building, other than which you are taking a advance. Sale of building is also mentioned there. Right? Then they also went to Schedule 2. In Schedule 2, they wrote that transaction where you have taken an advance prior to completion, same explanation which was there in service tax, copied and pasted, and they deemed this entire transaction a supply of service. Then there was an amendment in 2008 with retrospective effect saying that, see, Schedule 2, no diminution. Levy should come. Whether to the supply of goods or services, levy should come. And the only for the purpose of application of your time of supply, rates, and things like that, you go to Schedule 2 only for classification. That is what they told. Now, this demon fiction, the explanation is sitting under Schedule 2, which is not a deemed supply. So the question comes in, whatever the Mangas High Court, Guwahati High Court, Mangas construction case was there, that may be still relevant under the GST also. So GST you can say Schedule 3 says sale of building other than Schedule 2. Schedule 2 is not a levy, no more a levy. So thereby a transaction of sale of building is not subjected to GST at all, is one of the views can be taken. Of course, this is not an advisory I'm asking you to give to your clients. Don't go to your clients and say stop paying GST. So this is not a cakewalk. This is something which you can use it. By chance, somebody who has not paid in the past, they've got a show cause notice saying that you have not paid. So this is one of the ground you can challenge the levy. Of course, if somebody has challenged it, they get a favorable ruling, then the person who is paying also can stop till they make a correction of it with a retrospective effect. Right? This is what we are seeing, right? How this government is also doing everything retrospectively and they want tax hookup. So you have to be very careful in this, but this is a thought process which I am giving because we are all professionals. We should be knowing the intricacies of it. So this is one of the things which could be looked at. In this context, it is also important for us to look at the decision of Supreme Court in case of L&T. So this is also K. Raja Developers Builders VAT issue was there, where they argued saying that it is a sale of immovable property, not a works contract service. In while this was decided in Supreme Court in L&T, they have given para 122, they have given a very particular finding where they have told that any construction which has happened before the customer coming to contact, before you enter into a contract, all the construction which is happening, to that extent, it cannot be treated as a works contract. In that context, it cannot be treated as a works contract. That means I start my project today, right? So somebody will come after 1 year. After that, I have already completed 40% of the construction. No customer. I have done the construction. They told this is an immovable property. At the 40th, after 1 year at 40%, you can enter into a construction agreement to sell this immovable property, which is as on that day, and enter into a contract for construction. The tax will be only on the second portion, not on the first portion. That is what the Supreme Court decision is there. So this will also be helpful for all our previous cases which has been there. Next is long lease issue is there. So I'm not sure if this city is having this sort of a transaction. Nowadays, the government is allotting the land. So governments are not selling the land at like what they were doing earlier. So they want to retain the land. They are giving on a long lease of 60 years from 90 years. So these people, the developers are taking this land, doing the development of the land into the flats. That flat is also given under a long lease to the customer, 99 years lease, along with land and building. So whether this will be subjected to GST? What do you think? Lease agreement. It should be a service. But whether it is taxable? Because there is an exemption notification where it says leasing of residential dwelling used for the purpose of residence is exempted. So commercial taxable. Can I take an exemption under this entry? Or it is deemed to be a supply of the entire transaction is nothing but supply of immovable property, whatever sale of flat itself. So that is also again a dicey area. There are certain advanced rulings they have told. No, this entire agreement, although it says lease, it is because it is for 99 years lease, it is sort of a long-term transfer of an asset. So thereby there is no difference between a sale and this long lease transaction. So give the same transaction as you would have given for a sale of apartment. That means you pay 1 or 5% without ITC, as the case may be. So that is a ruling which has been given. So it is, but it can be either way argued. So this is something which we should be aware of. So the next issue which comes up here is that most of the people would be aware that for the purpose of marketing, if we say that the flat is 1 crore rupees, people will not come. So what they do, flat is only 50 rupees. Then there is a small star. In the star, you will say 50 lakh rupees is your flat, but you have to pay facing fees. all facing is having north and east facing only, no south and west. But you have to pay north facing, east facing another 10 lakh rupees. You have to pay so much for parking. You have to pay so much for high floor charges. You have to pay so much for clubhouse. You have to pay so much for infrastructure. Plus. Finally, it will be 1 crore. So this is just a marketing gimmick. If you pay 1 crore, if you say 1 crore, people will not even visit site. Or my budget is 50 lakhs, it is 1 crore, I will not go. Or maybe it may not be 50 and 1 crore, okay, another 50 and 80 maybe, he will not go. But once he visits, then he gets influenced by his family. Right now, people will not go alone, nah? They go with family, right? So you will get locked now. No, come what may, you should do this, that, and all those things. Then we have everyday calling, na people take loan, take loan, take loan. Right? So you'll also get confidence. Okay, I'll also get loan. So then people will anyway invest. The sale is going to happen. So that is what they want to attract more walk-in. So now question comes up is when you are charging separately for this differential locations and things like that, whether the GST of 1 or 5% can be paid, or should I pay 18% GST? What do you think? 18%, right? This is what department also says. Don't worry, it is only 1 or 5%. Right? Except for two items. One is your corpus fund. Corpus fund is not your money at all. You are only taking as a custodian of an association to be formed, and it gets passed through. That is, it is neither your income nor your expense. This is very important. This is how you have to give your treatment in financial goals. So I was giving this lecture somewhere, and they told, okay, corpus fund we have not paid because you told. Then there was a show cause notice. In show cause notice, they're taking it as income. Why? The project loan is there. He is saying that your income is less. So they identified which is this. They told, okay, this also you put it into income. It increased by another 2.5 crores, and my eligibility will be increasing. So the moment you are treating this as an income, and paying as an expenditure when you give it to your association, department may not give the benefit of a pure agent. They will say, see, this is an application of your income. It is not a pass through. Although we can always argue, we argued in that case, it's an accounting error. You have to see what is the transaction. You see from the contract. If I've done an accounting error, that will not get a tax. In the same way, if I do a accounting otherwise, where I'll not take it to income, will you give? Will you not ask tax? You will still ask now if I'm putting in not in P&L balance sheet. You are going to ask tax to me. So we are arguing on that, but why get into this complication? We should be very clear. Corpus fund, which will not be subjected to tax.
What about income generated on that particular time?
That is like the interest I will take the benefit of. That's what you're saying. No? So this 2.5 crores is collected today, but I will pay to the association after 3 years. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. By that time, I have enjoyed the funds. Yeah, that per se is not a supply of goods or service which is being made. It's an income which you have earned. Being a custodian. Being a custodian, no terms. No problem at all. No problem. No, nothing. The contract should provide you if you are giving no issues at all. Even if you are retaining that interest also, you have not done a supply to anybody in this transaction to that extent of interest. Right? So, second item which will be excluded in this is maintenance. Okay. So, there are certain projects who are taking advanced maintenance, 2 years or 1 year, they're taking an advanced maintenance. This advanced maintenance need not be included in this sale of apartment. Why? Because the service of maintenance starts after you are giving the possession of the flat. That means your sale of flat is completed. Thereafter, the maintenance is going to start. Thereby, that is not provided together with this. Although you are contracting it, you are contracting to be started after the handing over the flat. So thereby, advance maintenance has to be suffering tax at 18% with input tax credit. That cannot be added to 1 or 5%. Immediately the question comes is, so that 7,500 exemption is there, na sir? Per unit, per month, can I claim an exemption? That exemption cannot be claimed by the developer. It can be claimed only by the association, residential welfare association only. right? So nobody, the builder is not eligible to take that thing, right? So are we clear on this particular thing? That this is a composite supply, and thereby you have to pay the tax on it. Next is your documentation charges. So there is this, they'll also say that everything is there. There'll be some 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 as documentation charges, along with whatever that is there. And sometimes you also take the electricity deposit also, right? So this is the documentation charges. Can I take a pure agent benefit like corpus fund? Yeah, logically yes. I take 15,000 to you and give it to somebody in sub-register office for doing this documentation and doing the registration, right? But practically, to claim that, you should have an invoice issued by that particular vendor, that whoever is vendor, in the name of customer. There has to be a pure agent agreement, and then only I can do this. Now, question comes up is, what is this 15,000? We know, right? There is no invoice for this 15,000. Correct? So it's all cash expenses which you have to incur. You have to incur. You have to incur. So thereby, from a practicality point of view, it will become difficult for the developer to claim it. Either route it directly. This 15,000 is payable. You pay directly to this person. Don't take it to your books of accounts. The moment you are testing in your books of accounts, unless until you have a proper document supporting it, with claiming pure agent will be
Consideration.
If it's included in consideration, anyway, will get paid there. Or yeah. Yes. Yes.
You do check.
So this is on the documentation. Advance maintenance are advance maintenance is separately has to be paid tax. Corpus fund also I talked about. What's next to stamp duty? So stamp duty for convenience purpose, what builders do is that you cannot go generate challan and do everything. You transfer that money also. They'll calculate, okay, 1 crore is your flat into 7.5%. You have to pay 7.5 lakh rupees. You transfer the 7.5 lakh rupees to me. I will generate the challan and do all the documentation. You only come for signature on that particular date. These are add-on services every developer will do. So here, catch is, if you look at the valuation provision section 15, it says it excludes taxes under this act. That is CGST, SGST, IGST only. All other taxes to be included. Now, whether the stamp duty should be included? Answer is still no. Still no. Why? Because that is not like a VAT which I am charging you. This is not like a GST which I charge from you and pay to the government. This is something you are supposed to pay. Not at all me to levy. Levy is on the purchaser. You are supposed to pay. I facilitated it. So thereby this will not come under section 15. Right? All the questions which I am telling here, all the issues which I am discussing are the issues where department have issued either an audit para or a show cause. That's the reason I am discussing. I am not discussing any hypothetical issues here. Everything is an issue which is live somewhere which is happening. So department has issued a show cause notice saying that no, please see section 15, this also to be included. So your explanation should be that this is not chargeable by me. It is includable when it is chargeable by me, like maybe a labor cess or any other tax which has been there, local cantonment tax or something to be paid. Only that should be included. Rest everything should be excluded. Am I clear? Yes. Now comes is freebies, right? So you are giving free car, free kitchen, Diwali offer. Come air condition. Come and book the flat today. And first 10 customers will be given a Innova car. Right? Big holdings and all things happened. After that, they'll give or not give. I don't know. They may always say I'm the 11th customer. We don't know about it. But say assume is the 10th customer. It has been contracted. Now, what is going to happen in this? Is it actually free? Nothing is free in India, sir. Not even in India, in the world, nothing is free. Right? Nothing comes free. Free is, oh, okay. I'll give you car as is. Without you need not do anything. I'll give you a car. That is free. That nobody will do, right? That means the consideration of the car is embedded in the flat price. So the challenge comes up here is because there is a two supply of flat, supply of car, both put together is there. What is the rate of GST should be applied? So there is a concept of composite supply. There is a there's a concept of mixed supply. What is composite supply? It is one or more supply of services provided together in the ordinary course of natural business. That means generally should be given. Like you check into any hotel in India, breakfast has been given included. It is naturally bundled in the ordinary course of business. But every builder is not giving car, right? That means it's an exception which you are doing. So thereby, because it is not ordinary in the ordinary course of business, this will become a mixed supply. The moment it becomes mixed supply, what will happen? Highest incidence of tax, sir. Car is how much? 28% plus 17% surcharge, cess, compensation cess, right? So it is coming to 32%. Your entire flat has to be paid at 32%. So this is the danger which is going to happen if you are making it.
It happens by way of lottery. Suppose you book an
Anything, sir.
after Jesus.
Anything, anything.
100%.
Lottery, again, there is a challenge in terms of what is that actionable claims and all. So that is again a different complication, but that also has a complication, right? So this you have to be very careful. And if you closely observe after GST, most of the people have stopped this. They'll only give you a discount. This sort of a car and all those things they have stopped because of this major exposure which is going to be there. But see, we are professionals. Businessman is businessman. When I was telling this to one of the forums where builders were present, told Sudhir, 1 minute, 1 minute. This is very good, very interesting. And what is interesting for you in this, sir? No. You mean to say if I give you a kitchen cabinet which is at 18% GST, I should pay the entire amount at 18% and it will be eligible for input tax credit. So then I can beat this 5% without ITC, na? 5% without ITC is costlier mechanism, right? Prior to introduction of that 5% rate, builders were not paying any tax or they were paying only 1 or 2% in cash. Rest everything was ITC, input tax credit. Now, on 80% they have to pay input tax credit, plus they should also pay 5% in addition. So sometimes what you are cautioning also can go for some sort of a tax planning, but that is not a tax planning mechanism which I have told. So how department will view, we are not aware of it, but mix up play, that is the challenge which has been there. You have to be very careful while bundling this. Not only here, any transaction when you are bundling with something, you should carefully consider this definition of mix up. Next comes is additional works. So what is this additional works? There is a 2 BHK apartment with maybe a dining area. So he will come, one of the customer comes, he is also having some engineering knowledge. So he'll say, why don't you construct one wall next to this dining area and give a door? I will make it that as my third bedroom. So anyway, dining I'll sit on in front of TV. Na? So there is no requirement for me to have a separate dining area. So now they told, okay, no problem. I am going to do this. Basic flat is 50 lakh rupees. For this addition, there is going to be a 7.5 lakh rupees. He agrees, okay, I'll pay this 7.5. Now, what is the rate of GST on this 7.5? 5%, 18%. 18%? Yes. There are two ways of doing it. One is you revise your AOS, revise the specification, and say now the revised consideration is 57.5 lakhs. Then 5% without ITs. If you are not revising your AOS, you are treating this as an additional work, give an additional work order or an additional agreement of sale, then this will be subjected to 18%, but you will be eligible for input tax. Right? So this is also some people are actually doing a tax planning. When residential, they are giving the bare shell. without your tiling and all those minimum furniture, whatever that they give, no, they are giving a bare shell. After that, they are entering into a fit out agreement that based on your design, customized design. So every people today the design and all is not finalized by customer also. No? It is the architect of the customer. He will finalize which what the tile should be there, what design should be there, right? So based on that, they are saying, okay, anyway, what I am giving you are demolishing it. Might as well I'll sell you without that. But balance work also you have to get it done through me only. I'll tell you what. I'll give you what you have chosen. So in such case, you will get ITC of 18%. So this is also within the corners of the law. This is something which can be looked at as a planning. So that is on the additional works. Another thing which is happening, there are two things which they have told. Under service tax, they told completion certificate. After obtaining completion set, before obtaining completion certificate, if you have taken an advance, you have to pay service tax. But when it came to GST, they also told first occupation in the project or completion, whichever is earlier, you can stop paying the. Now the question comes up is, I have actually completed one tower of the entire project. The project is having 5 towers. One tower is completed. I am asking people to live there. Some temporary arrangement of electricity I have done, water arrangement I have done, and I'm asking people to stay there. That means I'm giving an allowance. So all 4 towers, can I stop paying the tax? What do you think? Technically, yes, can be done. If the entire 5 towers is having one RERA registration, entire 5 is having one registration for the purpose of GST after 2019, the project definition is project as defined under RERA. How we have declared under. So you have taken one permission, one tower is completed, rest of the towers you can still take an argument that I'm not going to pay the tax. Although it is a very risky argument, substance over form, if you look at, it is very risky. But there are other challenges also when it comes to joint development agreement and all. I'll tell if I take this stand, I'll end up paying huge taxes for the unsold inventory in terms of the development rights and all. I'll take it that. It's having a contra effect also, the other side somewhere. But this is something which is risk.
So it means first project, they have to pay tax, yes to pay.
Huh.
Remaining
First tower. Possible. Possible to take this argument because the entire project is one. First occupancy in this project has happened. Balance is still pending construction. I can go ahead and exemption. This is a possible. But whatever I'm saying will be coming with litigation. Right? So you should be ready to litigate. Make not you. Your client should be ready to litigate. Right? So that is something which we have to be clear. But vanilla thing which I'm not going into the plain thing. Actually, I've done construction of all the 5 towers. Obtain completion certificate also, not first occupancy, obtain completion certificate by local. My entire project cost is 100 crores. Till now, incurred is only 80 crores. Still another 20 crores to be incurred. For what? Some clubhouse, your internal, what you call the sanitary fittings, painting, internal painting, all those things is spending another 20 crores. Completion certificate will be given when the structure has been made. You're given the set-offs as per the norms. You're given that fire and all those things, facility is there. They will give you a completion certificate. They are not bothered inside your unit whether the tiles is there, whether the sanitary fittings is fitted or not. They are not going to look at. So people, in order to get the completion earlier, they will go off and apply the moment they have got. Still, there will be 20% of their cost to be spent. If I stop paying tax, there are department who is coming and objecting. Please see your total completion certificate has been received. That means project should have been completed. That means you should not incur any cost after this. Because you are incurring cost after this, you have to still pay the GST. This is not valid. You can argue the law is nothing to do with your construction. The law says what? Completion certificate received. The moment I received the completion certificate, Even the 20, 30, 40 crores have to be further incur, that will not change the leviability. So it is not going to impact. Right? Clear? Question. The other question which comes up is that whether this 5%, 1%, 5%, is it mandatory? Should I take? Or can I say that I will not take this notification, I'll pay at 12% and take input tax credit? Can I do this? Hmm? As is it? No, but there are certain case laws where, which, sorry, the case laws was different, I'll come to it. So, but there are certain argument where you will be eligible to pay at full rate and take input tax. So how it works? How it works? The rate notification which has been given is a conditional rate notification. Okay? The rate notification makes a reference to the rate. It also makes a reference to exemption section which has been given under the GST. So now the exemption, there are two types of exemption. One is a conditional exemption, another is an unconditional exemption. There is a clear provision which says if it is an unconditional exemption, you don't have an option but to take exemption. You cannot say I'm going to go ahead and pay tax one and two. No, not possible. But the conditional exemption, if you are not fulfilling the condition, you will not be eligible for exemption and you have to pay the tax. Now, if you look at that from this context, 5% is with the condition that you don't take input tax. The moment you are violating this condition by taking input tax rate, what will happen? You are not eligible for 5%, you have to pay tax at 18%. Right? Minus deduction towards the line. That I am coming. Next point. 18%. Then you will be eligible to take input tax. This is available for both builders and also for restaurants. This is there. But till today, in the entire India, I have not seen any single builder excited with this option and they have opted for it. Nobody is doing it. Right? Because stakes are huge. And if you go to advanced ruling, you know what is advanced ruling. We call it as an authority of adverse ruling. Right? So they will say, no, no, not possible. You have to do this, and all. That is how they are going to do it. So this is one of the ways, if at all the builder is want to take a risk, this is something which can be explored. Yes. Okay.
Because of that amendment, he is becoming
Ah,
they are including that common credit. Whatever the input I am claiming and 18%, they are dissolving. So that
you understood this query? So what has happened is he is having two line items. One is 1% line item revenue. Another is additional works 18% line item. What he has done, he has actually calculated for this additional work, how much bags of cement I have taken, how much bags of bricks I have taken, paint which I have taken. He has separately identified, procured that input tax credit full on that. Department is saying this 1 lakh rupees of input tax which you have taken is common for your first line item, that is 1% revenue, and also for 18% revenue. Thereby, you should have reversed this. You are not eligible for entire 1 lakh with the So nothing to worry. The reversal has to be done only on common items. A construction which is exclusively used, expenses which is exclusively used for your additional work, if you will be able to prove it by proper documentation, then the credit cannot be. Department will issue notice, I'm not denying that. But you have a very good chance of winning it. Right? In your case, what you have to do, you have to identify. Okay, sir, auditor fees, telephone expenditure, internet expenditure, right? So those sort of an expenditure are common expenditure. This I will take and I will reverse it in proportion to this 1% line item, and you can keep it outside. Right? So that is how you can. So this 5% thing where you will be eligible for input tax rate. In fact, just to add on to this, Telangana government also went one step ahead. They told, see, 1/3 you have taken deduction towards land. Nah? 1 crore is the consideration, you have paid tax only on 67%, 33% you have not paid tax. So how will I give you full credit on the construction service? I will give you only 67%. Where this construction is towards the land, no nexus at all. This is exclusively used towards the 67%. No. They passed the order. We had to go to the High Court. Then High Court remanded back. Then again they passed the revised order giving the input tax credit. So that is another challenge which department is doing. Now the other issue is that we know the rate of tax is 18% for commercial and 7.5% for residential. But when I showed my slide, I showed you where 5%. So what is it? 1/3 is a deemed deduction towards the land. That deduction is supposed to be done by the value. Either I'm doing it in the value or I'm doing it in the rate. Net effect is same, simple mathematics. Right? So convenient purpose, everybody will apply rate. But it is given on a value. So the question comes up is that is the 1/3 the only option for me to take a deduction of the land? This I am talking about even the 5% scheme also I am talking about, without ITC scheme also. So there is a decision of Gujarat High Court where they have told if you can actually identify that towards the land, whatever towards the land, you can take the actual deduction of the land, which may be 2/3 also in some places, right? Maybe Vijayawada and to some parts of major parts of Hyderabad and all, you don't find this benefit. But if you look at from the west, if you look at Mumbai, right, they sell flats at 25,000, 30,000. Do you think their cost of construction will be 5 times of our cost of construction? Impossible. Why it is so costly? It is because of the land, right? So if I'm incurring 2,500 rupees here for cost of construction, maybe I incur 3,000. That's all in Mumbai, or maybe 3,000, but I will not incur more. So those people and opt for this particular decision, they can take an higher deduction of value. Even here in Vijayawada, villa projects, this benefit is available because in villa project the land value is more. In flats, the undivided share value is less, right? So you should have a clear bifurcation. But while doing this, you have to contract in your AOS itself that I am giving you a land, I am also giving you a construction. The agreed value for the land is so and so. Agreed value for construction is so and so. It has to be specifically mentioned. Second question, what you have to tell, that construction cost you should ensure at least it is cost plus 10%. You substantially reduce it. It should be a cost of construction plus 10% is a minimum thing which you have to load. If this you are doing, you are in a safe zone, you can take a higher deduction of value towards the land. Right? So few people in Hyderabad for villa projects, they have already started taking the benefit, as I told, where your land value is very less. They will not be able to pursue more value in this. So thereby they are not taking. So this is another thing which you could consider. Yeah, for to be very safe as far as the sale of a villa project is concerned, you want it to be very safe, you can sell the land. What are the consideration? Execute the sale deed. Then after enter into a construction agreement and do a construction and pay 18% GST. Taking input tax credit. So this is also very beautiful planning. So the entire project will be out of GST. So and you will also save 7.5% stamp duty on the land portion. A villa is sold for about 2.5 crores. So 50 to 60 lakhs is construction. Balance is about your land. So you have to pay 7.5% only on land. On 50, 60 lakhs, you are paying saving 7.5%. You are saving 5% on the 1.8 lakhs. That is, you are on land. And also here also because you take input tax credit, you will not take 1 or 2%. So more or less, if you are properly planning on a villa projects, you can keep them out of the GST. And this is all what is permitted, but the contract should be entered in such a way. Right? You cannot enter into a normal transaction, normal contract, and give a coloring of it later. Your entire marketing, your strategy, your entire way of doing should be in this particular format from the day one. Then you can do this particular plan. So the next issue comes up is so what time would be the breaks? Oh, okay. I'm going very slow then. I thought a lot of time is there and going slow. I'll finish this slide and then we'll break for tea. Discounts. Discounts are Section 15 gives deduction for discount. Post sale discount is also allowed. But the condition is pre sale, no problem at all. Whatever you are doing, net value only, your booking form will be there, agreement also will be there, very clear. Post sale, if you are giving a discount, that should be known at the time of supply that you are giving this particular discount. If it is there, you can give a credit note and you can adjust the tax payable, no problem. Some special discounts which has been there, say when COVID came, a lot of people went for cancelling the flats. Then they told, "Arey sir, don't cancel. I'll give you some time for taking the payment of what the interest, sorry, installment without interest. I'll give you time." Few people told, "No, no, even that also I don't want to pay. I want to go back to my hometown. I'll not buy all those things." They offered, "Okay, sir, I'll give you some 5 lakh rupees discount. Why don't you return the flat?" Now, this special discount which is given was not contracted at that particular time when the agreement of sale was there. So that cannot be deducted from your balance. Okay, so you have to be very careful. Then there are certain cases where the agreement says delay in possession compensation rent to be paid. Right? He says, I will complete the thing in 2 years. You are flat in 2 years. If I am not completing in 2 years, every month I will pay you 15,000 rupees as a rental compensation. Because of you, I'm paying rent elsewhere. Na? You would have given, I would have saved that rent. So a lot of builders have this clause in the agreement of sale on the day one. Now this 15,000 which has been given, can it be treated as a discount? This 15,000 cannot be treated as a discount because it is a compensation for an delay done by you. You are giving this compensation to that particular owner or a customer who has bought it. So this cannot be treated as a discount unless until your agreement is telling that if there is a delay in the construction beyond 2 years, then you are eligible for discount of so and so from this period to this period, you will be eligible for an additional post sale discount. Then you can reduce that value and on the net value you can take the deductions. So it is how you are contracting is important, not you are taking the benefit as is.
But they all the clauses.
Yes. Yes, you are eligible to take. If it is not being there, it is not there. Somewhere it is danger also. One of the builder I told him. So why don't you have a clause for this? They said, no, no, why this clause? This one will come and negotiate. This clause is there, and that you give me. I don't want to do it. And if I give it to one customer, they have WhatsApp group. They will tell to all 1,000 customer, and I have to keep giving discount to anybody. I am ready to pay GST, not take benefit. I don't want to deal with this. Don't give me this advice. Okay, so we have to be practical also in here. Next is free of cost route. So he says, you don't give your tiles, I'll get my tiles. So he will say, okay. So I will give you a reduction of 2 lakh rupees towards the tile, get and do whatever your tiles is there. So laying and all is mine only because cost is there, only that two. So whether the cost of tiles which has been given, whether that has to be added to the valuation. Okay, so here also there is a circular in case of molds and all those things. Two ways of looking at it. Your contract is 100. Okay. Anything paid over and above 100. That means my contract was not to give you tiles. Only laying is there on the tiles which is given to you. 100 I am contracting. No further GST to be paid on the tiles. If my contract was 100, he told it is non-compromise for me. I will not give you tiles. Okay. So he will say already contracted along with the tiles. He says you don't give your tiles, reduce 2 lakh rupees. In compensation, I will give you the 2 lakhs. I will pay you 98 lakhs. 2 lakh rupees tiles is there. Then GST has to be paid not on 98, it has to be paid on entire 100 lakhs. Got it or you got confused? Yeah. So that brings an end to these issues. I have further more issues. I will be a bit quick after the tea break. So maybe a quick tea break and we can assemble. Thank you all. People outside the room, if you can listen, you'll get the అంటే in other forums I'm on common thing to very attractive point to attract everybody. In other forum, not CA forums. I will say, see, whatever questions you want to ask, whatever is there, free now on. After this session, you will get a big invitation. CA here, after that, also we keep on providing service. We don't let them bring to the CA. Okay. Sir, if you can sit down, sir, please, can you sit down, sir? Yeah. Rajesh, Uh, one of the questions which was asked, the villa projects which I have told that you can make a sale of land and enter into a construction agreement. So one of the very important participants is how a permission should be taken. Permission, there are two types of permission can be taken. One is called as a group housing permission. If you are taking group housing permission, no planning can be done. Forget it. You have to take a layout permission, sell the plots after doing the entire layout, take the completion of the layout, sell the plots, thereafter entering take the permission in the individual name in the name of the buyer, customer. Then only the planning is processed. So that whether practically it is doable or not doable is something has to be done, but this is something which you have to do from a legal point. So with this, I will proceed for my other slides. Cancellation charges. What is the effect of GST? One crore is the flat which I have booked. I have paid already 40 or 50 lakh rupees of advance. So he says, I want to cancel it. The agreement itself says if you want to cancel, whatever you have paid, 10% you have to forego. So he'll say, okay, no problem. For 4 lakh rupees, I am going to leave. Refund me 36 lakhs. On 4 lakhs, should I pay GST? So 4 lakh rupees GST is not payable. Two things. One is you can treat this as a compensation. It is as a damages, not as a service which has been provided. Thereby, no GST to be paid. This is one. Second, on 40 lakhs, you paid 5% GST. 36 lakhs, you are giving it back. So you give a credit note only for 36 lakhs, adjust GST, 4 lakhs suffers, 5% GST, leave it at. That means don't give the refund of 5% on 4 lakhs also to the customer. This is a better way of doing it. Translation. In terms of the builder. In my example, an example of amount paid. That is complete. This we have to 10% on the entire value also. It depends upon that. Okay. Few issues comes. Flat has been booked under service tax regime. Okay. Now it is getting cancelled. So if it is GST regime, very easy. You give a credit note, adjust for the payable. Now for service tax, how you can give a credit note and adjust under GST? It is not possible. So if it has been cancelled, you have to cancel and go for a refund of service tax which has been paid. Right? So that is the only possibility. You have cancelling a flat which was under 12%. After 2019, you shift to 5% GST. Right? So still you can give a credit note, even if it is 12%, you can adjust it at the 5% GST is not a problem. Right? But for all this credit note and all, you should be having that time limit and all as per the provision, you have to comply with that particular thing. Now, consent beyond the 30th year, I have written 30th September, it is now 30th November, right? 30th November of the next financial year, if it is cancelling, because you cannot give a credit note beyond this period. What to do? So then there is a circular 188 which has been given, where it says that you can go for a refund. And refund can be gone by a person who is bearing the incidence of tax. That is, you can tell the customer, see, this is beyond this particular period. I cannot give you GST, I'll give you a certificate. You go and get your GST from GST department. Or you refund the GST to the customer and you go to the GST department and so these are the two options which is available for you as far as the cancellation is. Transfer of flats to other customer. So what is the treatment? Swapping or transfer to other person. He says, I don't want, but my friend will do. So he will say transfer charges 100 rupees per SFT we will take. So for 100 rupees SFT, maybe this is not a construction, you have to pay 18% GST. But whether the same thing can continue, it can continue because this is only a change of the person. You need not show it as a cancellation and again a rebooking if it is only a transfer. So this is also something can be considered. So yeah, investor flash. So this is also not much here, but I'm covering it. So after this is actually you are borrowing money. For borrowing money, you have given some what we call security. That these 10 flat belongs to you and you have borrowed some 10 crore rupees from me. And there is a promise rate of percentage to be given and or at that particular exit rate, some exit rate, the prevailing market rate, they can enter into a contract. So should I pay GST at the time of receipt? As long as you are mapping that to your customer advance, you are treating as a customer of advance, you don't have an option but to pay the tax. If you can take it as a loan, you show it as a loan transaction, give the flats as a security, no GST should be paid. Now, whether a private limited company can take a loan from a non-member, all those challenges are there. Maybe in an LLP partnership form, this is something which is doable. In a private limited company, other challenges which has been there, so you have to consider this. But if you are taking a loan, marking these flats as a security towards the loan, it cannot be treated as an advance towards that same. Right? But if you are not doing this, if it is only advances, you have to pay the tax. This is very important. All our real estate clients, when we get an audit, this is one of the check which we do, and most of the things it fails. All loans which is and loans which has been taken by the builder, that has to be backed up by a loan agreement. And most of the cases, I realize it is not been backed. Even if it is their own family members and close friends, it has to be backed up. Otherwise, department will always say, see, this is actually customer advance. You have regrouped under loan to avoid payment of GST. So this is also very important document, important check you have to do that there has to be a loan agreement when it has been classified as a loan. When you buy, this is again a challenge. So I will sell it to the investor at 5,000 rupees. I'll buy it back at 6,000 rupees. So this is actually a complication. This is not a loan. They have sold the flat for you at 1 crore rupees. I'm buying back at 1.10 crores, again selling at 1.3 crores. So how I have to do this particular transaction? So first one, if I'm doing a cancellation, how can I give 10 lakh rupees extra? If it is cancelled, I can give 1 crore without penalty. That is possible. Give a credit note for 1 crore, done. But how can you give 1 crore? 10 lakhs. That means you have to again say that I have purchased this. Okay. So if it is purchased this, then the investor has to charge you GST. Whether the investor can charge GST at 5%? No. Before completion, I'm talking. All these things before completion. First of all, whether the investor has to pay tax. I am not paying back. I'm not paying back. I'm a customer. I went to a project. Okay. I bought a flat at 1 crore rupees. It is nearly completion. Now the prevailing rate is 1.4 crores. I'm getting a good return. I decide not to take it on possession. I want to sell it to somebody else. This sale transaction is 1.4 crores. Whether it is subjected to GST? Sale is registered. The builder is to pay. They need not pay. This is, I have not got the completion certificate yet. Project is not received completion certificate. I got a title, value title that I am selling it to somebody else. The builder is to pay. Why? If you look at that particular thing, it has not become immovable property yet because it is completion certificate not received. If you look at the levy or a notification, rate notification, it says any person who is making a sale will come. So that person can be a builder, he can be an investor, he can be a landowner. Right? So that is the risk which has been there. In my view, even that investor is subjected to tax because it's supply done by any person. It need not be for builders. But when it comes to rate, the 5% rate which has been given is given only for promoter. Promoter is defined under the RERA that the person who is doing a development. Investor is not a promoter. So I cannot say, see sir, you are only telling investor is not a promoter, investor is selling. I will not pay tax. No, sir, 1 minute. You cannot get 5% rate. But it is a supply. Supply of a building prior to getting the completion certificate. Sale of a building prior to getting completion certificate, that sale by any person is subjected to GST. Right? So in this context, the complication is when the investor is again giving back to me, he has to again charge me GST at 18%. Builder has charged 5%. When I am paying, I will not get input tax credit of 18%. When I am selling it for 1.3 crores or 1.4 crores, I have to pay 5% GST. So this is the entire complication among the investor flats which has been there. So this entire thing has to be properly structured. Yes, more than 20 lakhs. Yeah. Business definition says irrespective of its volume, occurrence, and frequency. Even one day, if I'm making a sale, that is also treated as a business. And there is a contradictory decision. You know, this unregistered purchases were subjected to GST. Initial 3 months of introduction of GST was there. At that time, jewelers asked a question. So there is one customer. I am buying old used jewelry from the customer. The customer is not a GST registered person. I am buying it. So whether I should pay GST on this because I am buying from an unregistered dealer and it is not a in the course of the business. The definition of business is not there because he's doing one time. They told yes, it's a one-time activity. They are not in the business of selling jewelry, used jewelry, that person. Thereby, it is no levy. If there is no levy, nothing to be paid under reverse charge. Wonderful, everybody clap. Happy. 2019, same question was asked by the builder. So there is a landowner. Okay. So I am entering into a contract with the landowner. I am taking development rights from the landowner. Landowner is not in the general business of giving land on development. It is once in lifetime. Only one access to the property. In his entire lifetime, he give only once in lifetime. He is giving that. Even jewelry can be given 2 or 3 times. Here, only once in lifetime he is given. This is not coming in the furtherance of a business. So thereby, I should not be subjected to tax on reverse charge under development agreement. They told nothing doing. See the definition of business. Even one time you are doing, it is a business, you have to pay the tax. Now, what is the difference between jewelry and real estate? I don't know. Right? Which is a stronger lobby or which is a weaker lobby or what revenue is there? What has happened? We don't know about it. Okay? For your question, I am talking about if you look at from a real estate land, nobody answer this. Even once in like one flat also is a business. So thereby investor, even a one person, I may not be investor also. I may be a genuine buyer also. For some reason, I got a better opportunity in Bombay. I'm relocating to Bombay. I don't want to take a flat here. Feasibility. But why should I leave the gain? I can sell it to somebody else. I can encash the gain now. So incurred interest cost also to holding so long, that also should come to me. So even if that I do, it will be separate. So this investment model which has been there is something which has to be carefully structured and has to be done in a way that it is not having a multiple incidents of this. Okay, I'm only giving you an area that this is something which is very, very important and gray which you need to consider. No, customer can take 5%. In this case, customer can take 10%. He will pay 18% GST, thereby you can eligible to take 5%. Builder will not be eligible to take that 18% on the bypass. Okay. So maybe it has to be structured that it has been cancelled and an interest compensation has been given because of the cancel. So all those things has to be factored in my agreement of sale at the beginning. That in case of cancellation, in case of this, you will be eligible for so and so interest compensation or something. So 10 lakh gives a separate thing, 1 lakh, 1 crore you make a cancellation and then you can do this particular. So there is a structuring which is possible. Next, you have continuous supply of services. Yeah, nothing much in this. It's very not very huge. Only two issues I'll concentrate on: time of supply, completion certificate received. But my AOS says that last 10% I have to give on the date of handing over of the keys. Handing over. As I told, as on the date of completion certificate, another 40 crores of worth is 20 crores of worth is to be done. So I cannot give the handover to my customer. But department when they come for the audit, they are of the view. The moment completion certificate has been received, your entire 150 crores projected from this particular project has to be subject to tax. How much you have paid now? 1.2 crores. Balance 30 lakhs you pay immediately. So here you can be very clear. It is based on the time of supply. What my agreement provides, that is what is final. Further, it is also important that you should keep on paying the tax as per your agreement. Most of the builders are not paying tax on the milestone basis. They are paying on receipt basis. It is actually receipt or that milestone, whichever is earlier. That means in agreement of sale, there will be a schedule. On the date of entering into agreement of sale, 25% of the consideration. On casting of the 10th floor, you have to pay another 25%. Like that, there will be a schedule. Today, as we are speaking, casting of 10th floor has happened. The builder has to issue an invoice within 30 days from today and pay the tax of the 20th of the next month, irrespective of whether it is received or not. By chance, somebody gave me in last month only. I cannot defer this payment to next month. I will pay by 20th of this month only. I have to give an advance voucher and pay off the tax. If you are following this time of supply religiously, as per the contract, when he is asking a demand to pay and completion certificate, you can contest. You cannot deviate this, keep on paying on receipt basis, and when he comes and say completion certificate is there, you pay, I cannot open my AOS and tell. Not right. Legally, rightfully, you can do. My one wrongdoing cannot make another wrong to pay. Legally, I'll argue. But logically, you will get into another demand of delay payment for this. Interest. Oh, okay. Very good, sir. You are very smart. You have got AOS. Na? Okay, chalo. We get AOS of all your 100 customers. Let us compute as per AOS what you should have paid, month on month, what you have paid, when you have paid, that interest you pay, I'm going to leave you. Right? So now you have to make a cost benefit analysis whether you need to play this or not play this, which is better evil you have to deal with. Right? Second is your turnover as per books and GST return. So time of supply is as per 25% construction. In my turnover, I am recognizing as per AS 7 percentage of completion basis. Entering into AOS today, no work only has been done. Permission only have been taken. So should I recognize the revenue? No, no. So it will be zero. My GST returns 25%. Say 25 lakhs in this example is been there. So now people are bothered more from a income tax point of view and they are deviating from the GST because they are fearing See, when the GSTR one turnover, it is getting auto-populated in my 26 years. And that income tax officer is saying, see, you are having a turnover of 2.5 crores for this financial year, but what you have offered is zero, or maybe 2.5 lakhs only you have offered. You give me an explanation for this. So you have to come and clearly tell the time of supply for payment of GST is different. Your revenue recognition concept for income tax and accounting standards are different. So don't be fear of having this difference. I've seen a lot of builders having a fear of this. They are not paying GST on this 2.5 crores or 25 lakhs in the example. They are not paying GST. So this fearing that the income tax, you will only give reconciliation. Maybe okay, first appeal, second appeal, you do a reconciliation. You not paying here, you'll end up paying huge interest. Maybe penalty also, if they are demanding it. So this is something which you have to clearly balance. Then comes is ITC. Whether I'll be eligible for taking input tax credit on the development rights which is missing. In a joint development. I mean, do that, I've taken a land on development. The landlord has issued me an invoice. Maybe prior to 2019 case. He has issued an invoice on development rights, charging 18% GST, whether I'm eligible to take input tax credit of this. I'm not on 5% scheme. I'm on, say, commercial. Take this for commercial. Am I eligible for it? Okay. When making commercial, am I not taking deduction towards land? I'm taking deduction towards land. This development rights is towards what? Is it not exclusively used for that exempted portion? Okay, so at least we should take. So this is a big way. I can still argue this is not towards the purchase of land. It is a right to development. Right to development is right to construct. So this is an input for construction, not for input for land. So this is an agreement which has been possible. Again, this is a gray area. This has to be settled, but notices have been issued where the developers have taken tax GST input tax credit on this development rights. You should be aware of it. Again, one more question somebody was asking during the break. Sir, I'm doing a development of commercial complex, which I want to give it on rent. Mall or multiplex I'm doing. I'll give it on rent. Whether I'm eligible to take the credit of this construction service and set it off with my renter. Okay, somebody asked this question. I told this is not something I should answer. Supreme Court, it is before Supreme Court. Supreme Court has finally heard it. Okay, and they have reserved the matter. With a close interaction with the people who have appeared for for this particular matter, I gained that the courts were not convinced that the input tax credit is eligible. Right? Safari retreat, Orissa High Court told you are eligible. What is this? Without construction, how building will come? Or without building, how rent will come? Because rent and construction is having an excess. You go ahead and take the credit. Department went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court apparently, we don't know. This is what the news I have got. But I should not be what you call pessimistic on giving anything which has not been done. So we have to wait and keep our finger crossed on this. So earlier I was telling, okay, you take the credit, wait for Supreme Court decision and all. Now it has already been reserved. Only for last financial year, if you have not taken before November, you want to take, you take it and don't utilize it. Okay. By the time it comes, you will get to know whether you should utilize or reverse it.
The property will be treated as a plant and machinery.
Yes.
So depreciation is also be allowed for these things.
Yes.
The same balance will be GST.
No.
It should be a plant.
No, even
The fixed rate. GST is allowed. Like that.
there are two things. Two things, sir. One is construction of plant also specifically restricted until 17.5. Construction of building, plant and machinery also. Repair. Repair to the extent not capitalized is allowed. Repair is allowed. But the core construction, I'm making a big plant, okay, which is having civil structure, which is having
And the branded machinery, I'm eligible for GST. Na?
machinery,
Machinery.
yes.
As such.
Platform for machinery, yes. You are making a small civil structure platform to hold the machinery without having vibrating. The platform is also eligible. Still there.
That is cannot be.
All those things is not eligible as far as
Not
GST. That is what. That is all. Repair to that is also. So we need to wait and watch what is the report decision. So this will be the same thing. Somebody is taking commercial from the flats from the developer, commercial space from the developer and further leasing it out. Same for him, or developer doing construction and giving leasing, one and the same. So this is something which we have to wait and watch. If you are taking the credit, not utilizing it, reversing it before issuing show cause notice, no interest, no penalty, you have to only reverse. So that you can keep in mind while doing this. Credit on equipment, sir. Your question. Credit on equipment. Lift, chiller, DG. Nothing to do with your construction. Without DG being installed, also it's a building. Right? But without doors and windows, it cannot become a building. It is incomplete. Right? So everything which is over and above the completion of the building, okay, like your lift or your firefighting equipments, AC chillers, DG, all those things are eligible for credit. You need not wait for Supreme Court decision. However, you need to have a separate contract for this. If you give one lump sum contract, including all those things to a contractor, then it becomes a combined supply of construction service. Then the entire contract is ineligible. So you have to have a separate contract for lift separately, firefighting separately, then you will be eligible for taking the credit. Even today, need not wait for Supreme Court decision. Credit on furnitures and fixtures. All right. Right? So two things. One is that it is sort of a partitions you are doing when it comes to interior. All those things for a moment you consider everything I'm talking about commercial. Right? So you are making some interiors and all, partitions and all. Open office has been given. I want to make cabins, cubicles and things. Any used furniture which is movable will not cause any damage eligible for. Which is getting embedded, like your false ceiling and all those things, which is becoming part and parcel of the building, you will not be eligible for it. So again, you have to give a separate contract, separate invoices, then you will be eligible to take the credit. Change of intent, can the credit be taken back? So first you thought that you are going to use this property for rental only. Okay, you did not have any what you call intention to sell. This entire property took 3-4 years for completion. At the end of second or third year, there was a lot of change in the economy. Your business, you are in family, something happened. Then you finally decide, I don't want to hold this. I want to sell it off. You opened sale. Sale also happened before completion certificate you are doing. So GST has to be paid on output. But then I realized I did not take input tax rate for last 3 years.
Right.
Time bar. So because I change of the intention is today, can I go back and take the credit? So there also 16.4 API code decision itself is there. So that is again 16.4 is a challenge. You will not be eligible for taking the credit within the time. So what you have to advise is, even if that person is not having an intention to sell, it may be a better idea to take the credit and reverse it on the date of completion certificate. By the time you have a clarity. And that particular time you are going to reverse it. Not only here, another very thing which is happening, most of the builders are mistake, is that their equipment credit for exclusively 5% residential project, they are having this tower cranes, they are having this batching plants, okay, all those equipments, they did not take input tax. 2.5, 3 years, they completed the project. Another project did not come in this company, their own other SPV was there. Now they are making a sale of this batching plant from one SPV to another SPV. Should I pay GST? Yes. No doubt about it. Because that is nothing to do with your input tax credit treatment. This is sale of goods, you have to pay tax. Valuation, arm's length price, all those things you have to take an open market value you have to do. Then what happened to input tax credit on this? I never took it then. Hmm? So there also you have to ensure that you take this credit, okay, and reverse it on a later one. Because if you are not using it, no problem. You keep the credit, don't use it anywhere. You cannot use it also. There is no other revenue for in that particular company if it is an SPV for you to use. But if you are not taking credit, you will be losing this. So these are all the advices which you can give it to the client at the beginning of the project. Right? So one of my builder clients was continuing with me from the service tax regime. In 2019, he told I will not further renew return account. Then he asked why. What is there? So they are now only 5%. And I am giving all the organized contractors only. My purchase is more than 90%. I need not even compute also, need not monitor also. What value addition you are going to do? So now not doing it is coming with all these sort of complications. So real estate, as chairman was telling, it's not that easy. You just take your turnover, pay 5%, there ends the story. There is a number of complications which has been there even in this particular aspect. Right? Why I'm telling this is that this is something which you through your clients, builder clients. Don't think it's simple. There are a lot of complications, and that requires a professional support. The same thing is SEZ, non-SEZ also, right? So I was SEZ project. I did not take the credit. So now I become a non-SEZ project. Then whatever the thing is there that you have to do that. That is another thing. Credit post obtaining completion certificate. Can I take the credit? Same question. 20 crores to be spent commercial project. Completion certificate is received. Today I am stopping making the payment of GST for all flats which is sold as on today. But there is some consideration to be received from the flats already sold, which I will be getting post completion certificate. I have to pay GST. Yes or no? Right? On this 20 crores, whether I will be eligible for taking the credit? Yes, 20 crores will be eligible to the credit, proportionate credit. So as on completion certificate, what you have to do? 80 lakhs incurred so far. What is the input tax credit on that? Say for simplicity, I am taking the 10 lakh rupees is the GST on that. How much is the inventory sold as on that day? 60%. 10 lakhs, you are eligible for 6 lakhs. 4 lakhs has to be reversed. If your closing balance is zero, you have to pay entire 4 lakhs in cash. If it is partially available or fully available, you can reverse with the input tax credit. Now my proportion is fixed. What is it? 16, 60, 40. Right? So next 20 crores, whatever the credit I'll get, 20 crores into 10%, say another 20 lakh rupees of credit, which I'm going to get, I will be eligible for 60%. Right? The only challenge which happens is that 60%, if I have already paid off that entire thing, I will take 60% of 20 lakhs, but I don't have sufficient receipts to pay. That credit will be left over as is. You get my point there? So you have to do a proper structuring or planning there also. To some extent, it becomes a cost. Free gifts are the part of the same consideration that I have considered that. RCM, various fees paid to local authorities. Somebody was asking some CMDA fees or something. Should I pay GST on that under reverse charge? So exemption notification is that any permission or a registration which has been sanctioned by the local authority, it is exempted. So it will not come under reverse charge. If levy, if it is there, something which is levied also can be exempted. So this you can claim as a exemption. Another thing is sponsorship which has been paid for all this property show and all. So that will also be subjected to tax under reverse charge. 80% receipts. So most of us are aware 80% of the actually 80% of purchases, I don't know where I received. 80% of purchases should be from a registered dealer. Shortfall of 80%, I have to pay GST at the rate of 18%. This has to be computed project wise, year wise. Okay. So in the same company, you have two separate RANA registration. This is two separate project. Even in the same project, phase one, phase two, you have taken two separate registration. You have to compute 80-20 for separately, and that has to be computed year on year. So this is also something which is a close monitoring which has to be done. So we have seen certain projects where they were doing earthwork majorly in that first financial year. In earthwork, they were dealing with unregistered purchaser, that hiring contractor and all, they were unregistered. So thereby it was less than 80% of the entire purchases which has been there is 80%. Overall project they have taken 90% in total. But first year they ended up paying you. So all that what you have to do is you have to prepone your purchases or postpone your expenses for first year to second year. So this is planning, especially from January onwards. By December, you should get to know what is the position. Next 3 months is available for you to do your procurement planning. Either you defer it or you prepone it and ensure that 80% mark is there. This is also a very good professional opportunity for each one of us. Doing this monitor on a month-on-month basis for a project wise. Common expenses needs to be apportioned. The HO expense is there, project wise you have to apportion it for the purpose of this computation. Calculation of 100%. In 100%, what all you can exclude is land, TDR, long lease. This will not come part of your 100% at all. For your base of calculation, 100% itself will not come. Electricity will not come, fuel will not. This is specifically excluded in the notification itself. Others to be excluded, salaries. Because it is neither supply of goods nor supply of service, so thereby it will not be part of your 100 itself. Exempted goods and supplies also, if you have taken, that will not be there, like permission fees and all. You don't consider in 100 at all. If you consider this in 100 and calculate 80, that will be a shortfall. Because it's specifically exempted, you cannot backdoor tax it under reverse charge mechanism. The specific exemption should be given. Very important. Supplies from composition dealer. Right? So, madam was asking, you are asking that purchases is less, or somebody was telling we are not doing the compliance. Sir was telling builders are not doing the compliance of. If you are taking from an unrecognized labor, you are taking a purchase from an unrecognized labor, 50 lakhs up to 50 lakh rupees, he can opt for a composition scheme. He can pay GST only at 6%. That is also supplied from a registered vendor. You will not be eligible to credit. Anyway, you are not eligible, but he has to be registered. Right? If you are not doing this, if you are not encouraging your supplier, your unregistered labor contractor to register and pay GST at 6%, if you are not doing that, you will end up paying 18%. 18 minus 6, 12% is a straight away savings which can be done. All that is what is required. The vendor has to take a registration, the labor, he has to file his composition quarterly returns and an annual returns has to be filed. So that service can be extended by us own. We can go and offer to the land our client, the builder client, that don't worry, these are all the 20-25 people who are there. We can do that compliance, outsourcing compliance. Who has to bear the fees, you will be very clear. Otherwise, he will say you take it from labor contractor. Contractor will say, no, developer asked me to register, I don't know. So first you be clear about your fees, but this is a substantial saving for the developer. And he has to file his income tax return under presumptive assessment. So all this TDS and all can be claimed as a refund. So this is the entire offering. So I know one or two chartered accountants who are exclusively concentrating on builders, 2 or 3 builders, and they're having about 400 files where they do only this. 400 labor contractors, they have taken a registration, they do their compliance, they file their income tax returns, which is a huge volume and a very good area of tax. Again, there is no hanky-panky, nothing, everything is professionally being done. And so this is something which is, again, it is a very big saving for the developer. So next, before I get into joint development agreement, slightly I'm overshooting. Before I get into joint development, very big question which comes is plotting. Whether sale of plant is subjected to GST. What do you think? No. Sale of plot is a sale of land, whether it is developed land or undeveloped land, any sale of land, it is not subjected to GST. But your contract should be very clear. Few people, what they do, they sell a land for say 10 lakh rupees. Sub-register office value rate is only 6 lakh rupees. They enter into sale deed only for 6 lakhs. 4 lakh rupees, they are not doing any paying any stamp duty or not, neither it is part of a consideration for sale of land. Then this 4 lakh could be treated as a development charges and 18% GST will be applicable. I'm telling you everything which comes in the books. But this 4 lakhs is also accounted for. So few people will enter an agreement of development for 4 lakhs, which is very obvious. Few people will keep it silent. Nothing, sir. 10 lakhs he has paid for flat. I registered the flat for him at 6 lakhs. And what happened to this 4 lakhs? Why you have done? Nothing, sir. He'll repeat the same fact again and again. Right? Client is typically client. So the moment you are doing this, the authorities, GST authorities will deem this 4 lakhs is nothing but for a down. Or the SRO has to do a undervaluation case on you, saying that you actually take 10, not on you, on your purchaser actually. You actually taken 10, but you paid only on 6 lakhs. It should be either of this has to be offered. Development charges 18% GST. I talked about JDA. When you take a land for development, whatever the development which you have done on a landowner share of the project, which will be subjected to GST at 18%, and the valuation will be the cost plus 10%. Whatever the cost you have incurred plus 10%, you will pay GST at that. During the course of the plotting, development portion may be demanded. So department has on this unique view. It says that if you are making a sale of this plot during the development, before getting the completion of the plotting, then it is subjected to tax. After completion of the plotting, if you have done, it is not subjected to tax. So I am not of this view, whether it is sale of land, is a sale of land, you're contracting for sale of land, like what I told for building, same thing, and thereby you can do this. So these are the appellate authority. After that, there was also a circular which came in, which I have not factored here. Circular also gives that particular clarity. So before I get into joint development agreement, pause here for 5 minutes. Any questions you have so far on this? Yes, sir. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, sir. Registration is immaterial. As per your agreement of sale, whether 6 crores for the 6 crores for the time of supply? No, not advances. If your agreement of sale says 25% has to be paid at the time of completion certificate, sorry, at the time of agreement of sale, okay, that activity has happened. He has paid you 25 lakhs of 1 crore, that is not advance. To that extent, it is a sale. That is what I'm saying. You cannot. One very important question you have asked. My agreement of sale has a payment schedule. It says 1 crore is the flat which you are buying. 25 lakhs you have to pay at the time of signing the AOS. 10 lakhs you have to pay at the time of getting the 10th floor construction. 10th floor slab which has been there, you have to pay 10 lakh rupees. Like that, I have a milestone. Last 90% has to be paid at the time of completion certificate. Next 10% has to be paid at the time of handing over. Like that, you have made a schedule. Sale deed happens 1 year, 1.5 years. In this year, 2 milestones has completed. 25 lakh milestone, 10 lakh milestone, 35 lakhs. Now, whether this 35 lakhs is an advance or a sale from a GST point of view. 35 lakhs is sale. You have to issue a tax invoice. you have to show it as a sale in your GSTR 1. When it becomes an advance, somebody will say, sir, I am going to pay you upfront, give me some discount. All these milestone, before that only I am giving you. He gives 50 lakh rupees upfront. First milestone and second milestone is 35 lakhs. Both put together. 35 lakhs is a sale. 15 lakhs is advance. For advance, you have to give receipt voucher. For 35 lakhs, you have to issue invoice. Then balance 15 lakhs, next milestone occurs. Na? You have to issue an invoice, but don't pay the tax and adjust it with your advance. Right? So this is the actual way the law requires you to do. Now, how many builders are doing this? We know. Right? So, but this is what it is happening. Now, his question is, I have got this 35 lakh rupees. For computation of the turnover for GSTR 9, that is 2 crores, should I treat this 25 lakhs as advance and say that I have not got 2 crores and I will not pay tax? So this 25 is into 10 units, 2.5 crores. I will not pay, or I should pay, I should go ahead and file the GSTR returns. So in your GSTR 1, if you have showed this, you should have showed it as sale. If you have shown it as sale, 9 will come. In GSTR 9, 1 itself you have deviated, you have shown it as an advance, your GSTR 9 also will not. Your GSTR 9 will altogether will not alter. It is as per your assessment made in your GSTR 1. But actual assessment is, it should have been treated as a sale, tax invoice should have been issued. Any other questions, sir? So I will get into joint development agreement. So joint development as agreement is having two legs. Right? One is very simple. I take a land, buy it upfront, do a construction and sell, which is having less complication, a very good model. But practically, investing so much in land is not viable in today's date of land being very expensive. So 80 to 90% of the developer are working on a joint development agreement, where typically there is an exchange of two supplies. It is not one supply, it is two supplies which has been exchanged. Supply number one is supply of construction service by the developer to landowner. Transaction number two, supply of development right service by landowner to developer, which is called as a transfer of development rights TDR. Right? So these are the two supplies which has been happened. Now, GST is a tax which needs to be paid on the supply. GST is not a tax which has to be paid on a product. Right? This is a particular product is there, water bottle. Manufacturer manufactures it, sells it to a distributor or a super distributor. He sells it to wholesaler, wholesaler to retailer, retailer to customer. Everybody has to pay tax. They cannot say retailer is paying now, I will not pay, all the top one. Or manufacturer has already paid now, we will all not pay. Not possible. Everybody has to pay and take an input tax credit if they are eligible. If they are not eligible, we cannot do anything about it. But the tax has to be paid. So this is a very fundamental understanding which we need to do, because clients, especially the landowner clients who comes to us, they will argue, why should we pay tax twice on the same property? Tax is not on the property. Tax is transaction in the property. If it is changes 5 hands, 5 times the tax has to be levied. One tax has to be levied. So these are the two legs which has been there. For simplicity, I am saying transaction 1, 2. Okay. So there is a transaction number 4 with customer, transaction number 3 with the customer. Maybe he is taking contractor, he is taking a land file, and the land vendor is there. Transaction number 6, or it could be inherited property or whatever it is. Broadly, there are 6 transactions which particularly happens. Okay? So now I am getting into the first leg. Taxability of landowner's share of flats. That is the first one. Whether this is actually a construction of flats for the landowner or it is a transfer of immovable property. Flats is there, 100 flats is there, 60-40 ratio. 60% will be with the developer, 40% will go to the landowner. I have done 100 flats, 40 flats I have to hand over to the landowner. Now, what I am giving the 40 flats to the landowner, should it be treated as supply of immovable property, that is supply of building, or it is a construction service? It is more in line with the construction service. Why? Because he is the landowner. On his land, I am transferring the whatever cement material on a brick by brick. Later, it becomes an immovable property on his land. It is not that I am constructing immovable property in my shed, putting it and overnight putting on his land. The immovable property has occurred. Till now, I have done a stage-wise construction. The only difference between a normal transaction and this is, if it was your own land, you called external person, contractor, L&T, Shapoorji Pallonji, he would have taken money and he would have charged GST on the money which he has taken. Here, instead of he taking money, he is saying, I am foregoing my 60% of my land as a compensation for your construction, which is your given. So typically, the developer becomes a contractor here, and GST has to be paid. Clear? So, having said this, there is an interesting decision of Vasanta Green projects. This is also pending before the Supreme Court, but final hearing arguments has not happened. What they told, they came up with a very beautiful theory. Sir, let's look at some mathematics. I am actually having 60 flats, I agree. For doing this construction of 100 flats, I have incurred 100 crores. Okay. I have made a margin of 20%. Entire 120 crores I am recovered from this sale of 60 flats. Isn't it the fact? Yes, this is the fact. On entire 120 crores, when I have paid GST, that includes 40 flats cost of construction which I have given to landowner. So I need not pay the tax again. So that is the view which was taken. Tribunal upheld this view in Hyderabad. Now this is before the Supreme. This was a service tax matter. This logic equally applies for GST regime also. This is something can be argued. My personal view, tax is not on a cost recovery. Tax is on the value of the supply which you have made. If the same argument has to be taken, I am a trader, I bought 10 water bottles, I am say working at a huge margin. I bought 10 water bottles at 100 rupees. I was able to sell 6 water bottles and recover that entire 100 rupees of my cost. For next to 4 water bottles, can I sell without GST? Because that is already included. Cost is already included. I have paid. You cannot do. Whatever margin you make on 4, cost plus the margin on 4 also you have to pay. Actually, you have made a value addition of 200 crores in the product. You have paid to the extent of 100 crores. The balance 100 crores which you are giving to the landowner, you have to pay again. Right? So that's the concept which is there. So I personally disagree with the Vasanta Green project, but this is which is available for all the litigation purpose. You can take it. And this is a very famous case that any landowner is coming to you for consultation, he'll come with Vasanta Green project, saying that it is not taxable. So this is one of the very critical position for us as a consultant. What if landowner is coming? What should I say? If developer is coming, what should I say? And both to me, what should I say? Right? So that is a very challenging task. So I have personally had various challenges with this. So, but we need to deal with this. Okay. Another argument which people will say is, so that flat is giving me after OC, sir. So I was told that after OC no GST, na. He is handing over after GST. So what is this after OC? I told you should not have received the money. Consideration should not be received prior to completion certificate. Right? For doing this 40 flats handover to landowner, what is the consideration? Land or development right. that gets transferred on the day I registered a joint development agreement. That means I have received a consideration prior to completion certificate for all the 40 flats. So thereby GST has to be paid. That argument will not hold. Right? Then whether the GST I will apply even if the landowner is not selling. Yeah, in this transaction number 4 is not there. It's independent. Transaction 1 has to pay tax. Whether transaction number 4 is there or not, you have to pay tax. I'm telling you all those things because these are all the common questions which will come to us. Then who has to pay tax? As far as government is concerned, developer has to pay tax. Whether he wants to collect it from his landowner, he wants to pay it from his pocket, that is a private agreement between you and your landlord. If the agreement is providing that you can collect and pay. If the agreement is silent, even if agreement is silent, because it's an indirect tax, it is a consumption-based indirect tax, it has to be collected from the recipient and paid to the government. That is the general law, right? Unless otherwise specifically agreed. Huh? And you can pay it. You can take the come tax bill. When the tax has to be paid? At the time of completion certificate or first occupancy, whichever is earlier. I have talked about first occupancy, whichever is earlier. Now, this is the danger which I was talking. In that 5 hours, 1 hour completed, occupation given, first occupation has happened. If I take a stand on the balance 4 flats, I am not going to pay GST. Then I should also agree and pay GST on the construction services for another 5 hours. So this construction service given to the landowner upfront that has to be paid. So it is the twin side, double edged, right? On what valuation it has to be paid? Sale value nearest to the joint development agreement. That is usually referred to as the first sale in the project. This first sale in the project can be the sale done by the developer, or it can also be done by the landowner. Whichever is the sale which has happened nearest to JDA, that has to be taken for the entire 40 flats. Right? Sir, then this is something the advantages. No, sir. First flat I will sell it at 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs. After that, I'll sell it for 1 crore. Is it okay? As long as the first sale, price being a sole consideration, and the transaction has happened between unrelated party, it should not be an unrelated party. Other than this 25 lakhs, no consideration should have been received. If this twin condition is satisfied, even if your first sale is 25, thereafter it is 1 crore, department has no objection, no option but to take the 25 lakhs only. Yeah. If they want to disprove, no, this is purposefully you have undervalued, you have got some consideration in cash or otherwise, then they have to prove it by evidence. They cannot just make a allegation. So they will have to summons my customer, they have to do the investigation there with me, bring out the evidence. Okay, this is the additional consideration, this is the document for this is the day when you have got the cash. All those things they have to prove. Right? Don't take that I'm giving you some planning here. Okay. So this is what I'm saying, whether it is possible. Why this question is coming is genuinely first sale or the sale nearest to the joint development agreement, they do something called as a pre-launch offer. Few people will sell prior to RERA also unofficially. They will do it within the close family circles and all those things. They will not openly publish it. Within the close group, previous customer, investors, and all those things, they enter into make a genuine sale also, which will be less. If not in my example of 25 lakhs and 1 crore, it will be at least 40, 50 lakhs vis-a-vis 1 crore. That is a fact. No tampering fact also. So when these facts are there, few builders are worried because I'm actually selling. And of course, as and when the stage progresses, your last sale will be actually much higher than your first sale. This is a fact which is there in the industry. So unless until it is genuine, nothing to worry. If you are making anything purposefully, you will be having a problem. Rate of tax, same. 1.5% or 1% churned off 18%. Same rate is applicable even for the flats which is handed over to the developer. So recently I was speaking to one of the senior professionals in Chennai. So Chennai, they have a practice that they are not taking this rate, they are charging 18% GST. Because I have what I told, for this transaction number one, you are typically a EPC contract. So they are charging 18%, taking input tax credit. So for me, it appears a bit complicated model. So you can pay this particular thing because the rate of 5% with the first sale value for the overall project should be beneficial. One third deduction towards the land is permissible. So another thing that they are saying is, how you are not giving land now. For only you are giving 40 flats of construction only. You have got 60% of development right. 40% of the land is still with the landowner only. Now. So am I eligible for one third deduction? Yes, you are eligible because what you are taking as a comparative sale, that was with say with land. So if you have to pay tax, one third deduction of land has to be given, or if you have actual land deduction value, if you have made some tax planning, that deduction has to be given, and you can make the payment of tax. Tax invoice has to be issued, has to be raised by the builder or the landowner only for the tax. This is very, very, very important. In Hyderabad, one of the commissioners, not all commissioners, only one commissioner in Hyderabad, has been very aggressive in last about nearly about a year. They are very aggressive and going beyond every developer. So one of the developer they wanted to arrest because they did not pay tax on the land ownership. So then I opened the book and showed him. First I told him that you cannot arrest because arrest provision is not there in this particular scenario. He told show me the book. So what are the scenarios? Scenarios is you have issued a invoice but not supplied the goods. You have erroneously taken the credit without receipt of the goods. You have actually supplied the goods without issuing the invoice. So these are the cases it can be arrested. He told you are coming under the third. Why third? Have you not supplied this construction service to the landowner? Have you issued an invoice? No. Then you have to pay tax. And so then you can be subjected to arrest. But I have not paid because of an interpretational issue. It is not unaccounted sale. They came, they saw, they seized my cash. Then they got to know that it is unaccounted cash sales, and thereby they can arrest me. That is not the case. It is a transaction of interpretation. I am saying as per Vasanta Green projects, I need not pay. Or I am saying this was a service tax transaction, GST need not pay. I am taking an interpretation that it is not subjected to tax. Thereby, I have not issued a tax invoice. But this commissioner is hampered. No, I'll go and arrest. In fact, they have gone and arrested one landowner also. So that become a very big threat to all the builders. So I'm not telling you from an arrest point of view, even from a law point of view, tax invoice has to be issued, which has not been issued is a non-compliance of the GST. If it is not paid, then this can become much more serious. And if there are circulars and all which says interpretation issue, you cannot arrest and all, but we know how much they are binding with the circulars. Whether landowner is liable to pay GST on the sale of his flats. Now I am in the transaction number 4. Whether landowner has to pay GST? Before OC? Yes, I already explained. Like when investor, when I told, the landowner also has to pay when it is before OC. If he sells after OC, whether landowner is liable for GST? No. On his sale. On his purchases? He has to still pay the tax. Time to pay rate of tax value is same as the developer. Everything is same. Whether the landowner is entitled for input tax credit. This in the entire scheme in 5%, there is only one person who can take the credit, that is a landowner promoter. Not investor, not customer, nothing. So landowner promoter can take the input tax credit. Only one condition is the value should not be less than the first sale value on which you have got the tax. So first sale value happened at 40 lakh rupees, right? So if I have to take a credit on this 40 lakh rupees, invoice given by the landowner, right? My sale to my customer cannot be less than 40 lakhs. What if I'm actually selling at 25 lakhs? For the purpose of payment of GST, you can pay at 40%, 40 lakh value. You can actually collect 25. For the valuation purpose, you can pay tax on that and take the input tax credit. No. They basically want to ensure that you will not sit with an input tax. That's the minimum which you have to. If I'm selling at 60 lakhs, on 20 lakhs GST, you have to pay it in cash. Electronic instance. Right? Clear. Yes, sir. He has to take the registration.
Before taking the invoice.
Before taking input tax credit. Very important also. Sir, just now you told last transaction, when you have to pay on the landowner, you tell you to pay at the time of completion certificate. But my landowner will be, you would have sold entire flats of 40 floors prior to completion certificate. After that, landowner will issue an invoice. What will I do with it? You understand? Today the project has started. Completion certificate will come after 3 years. I will take first sale value at 40 lakh into 100 flats. Okay. So coming to how much? 40 crores. Into 5% GST, I give him an invoice on the date of completion certificate after 3 years. In between these 3 years, he has keep on selling the flats to various customers. He collected the GST and he paid it in cash to government. After that, he will get input tax credit invoice. What will do with this? For this, there was an amendment which was being made. What they told, last day for payment is completion certificate. You can pay it in any of the tax period prior to the completion certificate. In a tax period, when you have got a completion certificate, you pay. So what you have to do is a computation is first you have to make this computation. 40 lakhs into 100, 40 crores into 5%, which will come to how much? 2 crores of GST. Right? This is the total pay. This month, the landowner will collect 1 crore rupees from his customer, which he has sold. 1 crore into 5% is 5 lakh rupees. Right? So 2 crores minus 5 lakh rupees invoice issued. Balance invoice to be issued is 195 lakhs. Like that, keep on issuing the invoice, have this running account. The moment this becomes zero, don't issue more invoice. By the time completion certificate comes in between, another 40 or 50 lakhs of invoice to be issued, that you issue as of the date of completion certificate. Clear? So this is an account which has to be maintained. The landowner has to inform the developer on the last day of the month. Because invoice, if I am issuing on 1st November, he can take the credit next month. So I have to issue an invoice on 31st October. So last day of the month, he will say, I collected 1 crore, 10 crores, whatever it is, he will say, 31st of the month, I will give him an invoice to that extent. I will upload in my GSTR 1 on 11. It will reflect on 14. That amount, instead of is paying to the government, he will pay to me. He will take output minus input. I will take that in cash. For me, output paid by cash. So this is the mechanism which I have to allocate for the proper compliance. Now there are few landowners who will say, I will not take registration, sir. Why should I take registration? I will do one thing, this whatever 1 crore into 5 lakh rupees, whatever I am collecting, let him directly pay to the landowner. Developer, is that okay? He will ask developer. Developer says, okay, sir, no problem, you give it to me. Because developer's liability is discharged. He is more than happy. Tomorrow, when audit happens with the claim, he will say, okay, sir, this is the amount, first sale value into so and so, paid so and so. I have paid. Shabash, audit closed. Then they'll go to the landowner. Not at all registered. You have made sale. Got consideration. Where is the GST on that? He has paid, no, sir. He has paid for transaction number 1. Where is the tax for transaction number 4? So, one property, 2 tax. No property, 2 transaction. 1 property, 2 transaction the property. You have to pay the tax. So, most of the landowners are missing on this link. They are thinking if it has been paid to the developer, it is sufficient. And most of the developers are also misguiding the landowners. That you paid off, it is sufficient. So all the landowner clients what you are having, you should be very clear. Even if this is a cost of taking a registration, If they do this, there is no non-compliance at all. Both the people, no extra payment also. You paid by ITC, he would have paid by cash. So this procedure is mandatory that you have to follow.
So the developer has to raise invoice for the 40 lakhs in the beginning itself.
No, he can give proportionate. How much ever he wants, he keep on giving. At the end of completion certificate, it should be full. If he is getting close earlier, also no. Am I clear, sir? Have I answered your query? Please.
In progress wise, test.
Nothing work in progress. Don't worry. How much he has collected, that much you give invoice. No, give nothing. The notification allows you to give an advance invoice. No problem. In any of the tax period, you want proportionate, you can. Again, work in progress and all, you have to give unsold also. If 25% is completed, 25% of 40 flats into the valuation of 20 crores,
He has not sold the same.
he would have not sold. You will issue invoice, he will not give you cash, then you have to invest cash to make the payment. Where will do? So how much ever cash you have got, to that extent you give me, I'll pay. For me, there is no loss. For him, there is no loss because customer is ready. At the time of completion certificate, I don't have an option. At that day, somebody has to take a call. Either the landowner will fund it or developer will. Clear, sir? Okay. Another thing is, ITC landowner has to reverse to the extent of unsold inventory. Right? So in my example, I told this 2 crores. I have recovered 2 crores on my 40% of the inventory itself. Or 50% of the inventory, 2 crores is there. Still balance 50% is pending unsold. I cannot enjoy entire 2 crores credit. I have to reverse 1 crore. That is 50% which is unsold. That rule 42 reversal has to be made by the landowner. To that extent, it will become a cash outflow as on that day. So all my landowner clients, psychologically what I have told, you have got an invoice for 1 crore, no, sir. You will not actually get entire 1 crore. You will only get to the extent of what you intend to sell. So you take credit only to that extent. Balance, you are not eligible for credit, I'm saying. Otherwise, what happens? They'll use up, then you'll say you pay 1 crore. Where will I get 1 crore? They'll say. So you have to make that cash planning also, cash outflow planning also for the landowners. Very important. Credit can be utilized for the payment of tax also. There is a notification which has been there. Okay. Now GST on transfer of development rights. Transaction number 2. Right? Development rights which has been there. So here basic fundamental question whether grant of development rights, is it grant of development rights or it is transfer of land. So it is a grant of development rights which will be later transferred the land also. So because it is a transaction of land, transaction in immovable property, GST should not be levied. So this is one of the argument which is possible. This matter has been heard by Telangana High Court. It was fully matter was reserved for decision. Justice Buyan was transferred, elevated to Supreme Court. Now the re-hearing has happened. So that is something which is pending. So there is always a scope for you to argue it is not liable for tax. And yeah, so these are those case laws which says that this is not subjected to tax. A quick recall, sir. Whatever I have told on 2 transactions, I am making a quick recall. Taxability of flats handed over to the landowner. That is transaction number 1 in my example. GST to be paid by developer by collecting from the landowner if the agreement counts. Value on which the tax has to be paid. Sale value nearest to DAGPA in the project, which is commonly known as first sale value. Rate of tax 1 or 5. This is for residential, 12 for commercial. ITC, developer is not eligible for ITC on any expenditure. Whether GST to be paid, when GST has to be paid, on or before the completion certificate, or first occupancy. Clear? Transaction number 2, GST has to be paid by whom? Developer under reverse charge mechanism. Right? So there is an exemption which is given to the extent of flats sold by the developer. I'll give that in an example later. When the GST has to be paid at the time of completion certificate. What is the value on which the tax has to be paid? So developer share into first sale value into 18% divided by carpet area of unsold inventory divided by total carpet area or last sale value, that is sale nearest to completion certificate, carpet area unsold into 5%, whichever is lower. Okay. These confused? I'll explain with an example. I'll take an illustration and I'm going to explain. Right? I have next 10 minutes. I will make it quick. Total carpet area in the project is say 100 flats. Yeah. This is already there in the bank's laptop. If you have a mailing group, you can do no copyright reserved because this is not my original work. What is there in the law, I have to put here. So it is freely shareable. 60, 40. Okay. 60 is for developer, 40 is for the landowner. Out of the 60, landowner sells 50 prior to completion certificate, 10 is unsold. Out of these 40 flats, landowner has sold 25 flats, 15 is unsold. This is a basic example which I have taken. So now what the developer has to do on 50 flats, he is to pay GST at the rate of 5%, no ITC on what value? Transaction value, it has to be paid at the time of milestone or receipt, whichever is earlier. This 50 we are all clear. 10 flats, unbooked, no GST on that. Post OCCI, no GST on that. This also we are clear. Now on 40 flats, which is handed over to landowner, first sale value into 5% GST. No input tax credit. When it has to be paid? At the time of completion certificate. First sale value at the time of completion certificate. Clear? Okay. Sir. Here also you can pay. This is last date. Last date for payment.
He has to pay at that time, or CG can pay.
Sale, sir. Sale by developer to landowner. Yeah. Landowner to customer. You can pay prior to that.
CC. So he has to pay.
At the time of CC is the last day. If you want to pay early, you can pay no. It's optional. Right? Now the last 10 flats is something which you have to concentrate. 10 flats which is unbooked. I said transaction number 3, sale to customer, you need not pay. But transaction number 2, development rights installed in the hands of the developer, which is 10 flats into last sale value, sale nearest to completion certificate, into 5% tax has to be paid. You cannot do any collection of this. It can be collected as an increase of price. Clear, sir? Any doubt on the last 10? Exactly, sir. RCM. It has to be paid at the RCM at the time of completion. 5% is the rate. Value is the sale nearest to completion certificate, not at the time of first sale. Joint development agreement. Right? So, moral of the story, developer has constructed 100 flats. He has paid tax on entire 100. 50 he paid on transaction value month on month. 40 he pays on first sale value. 20 he pays on last sale value. That's all. First 2 are collectible. First is collectible from customers. Second is collectible from landowner. Last 10 is your cost. You have to bear it as a cost. You can increase the price and sell if market permits. Sum and substance, 100 flats constructed by you. Entire 100 flats developer has to pay tax. That is the gist of 1st of April 2019.
So transaction 2 and transaction 3 are same.
Transaction 2 and transaction 3, here in 2 and 3 are not same. 2 are flats sold to customer. I will just get back, sir. Okay. So transaction number 1 is the developer and landowner is transaction number 1. We're all clear about it. In my illustration, that was 50 flats. Sorry, 40 flats. 40 flats. Yeah, 40 flats. For sale value, will pay. At the time of completion certificate, 5% is the rate. There is this shown. Clear now? Transaction number 2. Landowner giving to the developer. 10 unsold flats was there, na? 10 unsold flats into last sale into 5%. Transaction number 2. Transaction number 3. 50 flats sold to the customer. Transaction value at the rate of 5%. So developer is only linked with 1, 2, and 3. He is not bothered about 4. Yes, that is my view. Very good question you have asked. That is my view. There are few consultants who are saying, in that I told 25 and 15. In my example, they are saying you have to pay 25. That is the entire unsold. I'm saying I have to pay development rights to the extent what I have got. I can take an exemption to the extent what I have sold. Balance I have to pay. In sum and substance, they want 100. They don't want more. On the entire 100, you pay the rate of 5% only. Different valuation, different time of service. That's the only thing which is mentioned. So am I clear, sir? Now for you, 3 transactions which I am paying. అంతే అది ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ నెంబర్ 3 దాని మీద కట్టిన అవసరం లేదు. 95 కట్టండి. 10 flats need not pay as transaction number 3. 10 flats you have to pay as transaction number 2. Answer. Transaction number 2 ఉంది కదా సార్ ఇందులో. ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ నెంబర్ 2 ఏం చెప్పండి ఇందులో? ల్యాండ్ ఓనర్ టు డెవలపర్. దానికి డెవలపర్ రివర్స్ చార్జ్ మెకానిజం పే చేయాలి. దానికి దేని మీద పే చేయాలి? ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ నెంబర్ 3లో ఏదైతే అన్సోల్డ్ ఉందో దానిలో పే చేయాలి. బెనిఫిషియల్ అండి. అంతే. రేట్ అన్ని దానికి 5%. సార్ అర్థమైంది సార్, ఇంకా కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఉందా? సార్ ఒకటి ఇట్లా చేయమంటారు సార్, ఇంకోటి ఇట్లా చేయమంటారు. బ్యాలెన్స్ అన్ని పే చేయాలి. అన్సోల్డ్ ఇన్వెంటరీ మీద టాక్స్ లేదు అని చెప్పడం కరెక్ట్ కాదు. అన్ని దాని మీద 100 మీద అనేది కరెక్ట్ స్టేట్మెంట్. అన్సోల్డ్ మీద కాదని, అన్సోల్డ్ మీద కలెక్ట్ చేయలేము అని చెప్పొచ్చు. అన్సోల్డ్ మీద పే చేయాలి. మీరు చెప్పింది 190 ఎంఎస్ 10 ఉండిపోయింది అన్నారు కదా, ఆ 10 మీద పే చేయాలి. కరెక్ట్ చేస్తే దానికి లేదు కస్టమర్ దగ్గర. నేను రివర్స్ చార్జ్ లో పే చేస్తాను. 10% లో ఉండదు కదా. అవును. లకి సార్ ఓకే సార్, క్లియర్ సార్. యా transaction number 2. Transaction number 2 is last sale value. 5%. 7.5%. You get a still that is by a formula. I showed you this. Or that whichever is there. So basically, the second one only will be there. That will be the list because it's like this. Sir, 1 minute, please. Hmm. So that's one supplement actually. Another supplement now we talk about. It's all confusion confusion. Some options if you have question, how we have made the disclosure should not be a big problem.
For notification rate of tax is 7.5.
7.9. It becomes a misassessment if you are doing at 5%. Wrong classification. So next is for 40 flats. This is in the hands of the landowner, sir. Developer we have seen entire address. We will see what landowner has to do because we also have landowner claims also. So in landowner, we have got 40 flats received from the developer. Transaction number 1. Pay 5% to developer. I am assuming this is part of the contract. You pay 5% to the developer. Take it as LTC. You may request the developer to issue an invoice prior to OC. Second, 25 flats you have sold prior to completion certificate. Transaction value, collect 5% of the tax. Adjust it with the input tax credit. You have to ensure the value will not be less than the first sale value. Third one, 15 flats which is unsold. No option in payment, but you have to do the reversal of ITC. Okay, that reversal has to be made to the extent of unbooked flat as of the date of completion certificate. Right? So thereby the department is ensuring that this credit is not used in the 25. To that extent, they have to get their money. It cannot be taken as an income. Yes, sir. Ah. GST, no GST. You have to increase the cost and recover that reversal GST. Huh?
When landowner has to cancel the GST, that one time.
Once his liability is completed, say you have already, in my example, 25 lakhs is totally discharged, no more pending installments from customer. You have reversed rule 42, then you can immediately sell. Because you don't have any further business in that, you can sell. Till then, he has to do. Right, sir? Now I'm taking you the last topic of revenue share. I'll tell you. Developer has to give an invoice on 40 flats on landowner. Perfect. On the for sale value, balance he has to issue a non-compliance in the hands of developer. No, RCM is not there on transaction number 2, 1. RCM is there only on transaction number 2. Yes, under RCM.
అన్సోల్డ్ గా ఉంది సిసి వచ్చేసినప్పుడు
Excellent. అదే RCM లేదు సార్ RCM. ఫ్లాట్ మీద కట్టారు ల్యాండ్ తీసుకున్నాం కదా ఫ్లాట్ పెట్టాలంటే ల్యాండ్ ఆ ల్యాండ్ మీద కడుతున్నాడు బట్ వాల్యుయేషన్ ఏమన్నాడు వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ ద లాస్ట్ సేల్ ఫ్లాట్ ఈ ల్యాండ్ వాల్యూ ఫ్లాట్ వాల్యూ తీసుకోమన్నాడు నోటిఫికేషన్
explain the position before 31st.
That becomes very complicated. He says before 31st of March you explain that that is a totally different version. Before 31st, yeah, I got it now. Before 31st March అయ్యింటే ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ నెంబర్ 2 కి డెవలపర్ ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇచ్చారు. డెవలపర్ ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇచ్చారు ల్యాండ్ ఓనర్ కి. ల్యాండ్ ఓనర్ క్రెడిట్ తీసుకుని 12% స్కీమ్ లో ఉన్నాడు కదా, క్రెడిట్ తీసుకొని యూ వుడ్ హావ్ రివర్స్ ది ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ టు ది ఎక్స్టెంట్ ఆఫ్ అన్సోల్డ్. ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తున్నారు, అక్కడ క్రెడిట్ రాదు కాబట్టి అది ఎగ్జంప్షన్ ఇచ్చేసి నువ్వు రివర్సల్ ఏదైతే చేస్తూ ఉంటావు అప్పుడు దాన్ని 5% చెప్పిన పే చేయమని. దట్ ఈస్ ద సమ్ అండ్ సబ్స్టెన్స్. How? Is exactly. But ఏం మిస్ మ్యాచ్ కాకుండా తొందరగా ముందే తెప్పించుకోవాలి, రోజుకి ముందే తెప్పించుకోవచ్చు. అంటే అంటే ఇప్పుడు త్వరగానే కట్టారు కదా. ఇంకా చెప్తాను ఏదైనా సార్ బిల్డర్ చేయాలి. ఎస్ బిల్డర్ ట్రేస్ కాదని నన్ను వెళ్తున్నాడా? కస్టమర్ కస్టమర్ కదా సార్. ఐడియా ఏంటంటే నో ఆల్రెడీ వీఆర్ బాదర్డ్ విత్ దట్ పర్చేజర్స్. ఆయనేమో ఈ స్పెషల్ డ్రైవ్ లో ఆయన కనపడలేదని ఆయనకి సుమోటో రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ క్యాన్సల్ ఫ్రమ్ ది డేట్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్సెప్షన్ చేసి ఆయన ట్యాక్స్ నమ్ పే చేయమంటున్నారు. అది వచ్చాను సార్. కస్టమర్ పే చేసారా లేదా సంబంధం లేదు సార్. లెవీ ఉంద డెవలపర్, దేర్ క్యాన్ బి a consequential investigation. Customer can call for a consequential investigation. Someone's to clear గా వస్తారు. We have started an investigation against XYZ builder. In this connection, we are calling you to tender an evidence అని పిలిచి, మీరు ఆయన దగ్గర తీసుకున్నారా, క్యాష్ లో పే చేశారా, మొత్తం అకౌంట్ పే చేశారా, క్యాష్ లో పే చేస్తే ఎంత పే చేశారు, మీ దగ్గర ఏం డాక్యుమెంట్స్ ఉంది, ఏం ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇచ్చాడు, అవన్నీ తీసుకుని ఆ ఎవిడెన్స్ ని దే కెన్ యూజ్ ఇట్ అగేన్స్ట్ ది డెవలపర్. But they cannot ask customer to pay again. Not. We are safe as a customer. No. అందుకే 15 ఎగ్జామ్ ఉంది కదా వాళ్ళకి. డెవలపర్ 14 మీద 5% డెవలపర్ పెట్టేశారు. ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ నెంబర్ 1. వాల్యూ on 25 lakhs. Fifteen work exempted. 40 flats, so 40 lakhs. 25 flats into 40 lakhs is eligible to take input tax today. Balance 40 lakhs into 15 flats, he has to reverse the ITC. And he cannot collect it from the customer. Yes. So I think I was slightly overshadowed my time. So I thank you all for the patience listening. I thank the organizers of the Vijayawada branch and the Direct Access Committee for giving me an opportunity to be here and share my thoughts. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Sudhir garu. This GST on real estate is a never-ending confusing subject. The time when we get an understanding of the provision to some extent, again immediately the regulator will wake up and change the rules and regulations once again. So whenever we hear to these type of conversations and deliberations, we will be of the opinion that we have understood at least something and we will be able to implement that. But once we start implementing it, again we get the confusion whether it is to be done like this or whether it is to be done like that. And we try to recollect Sudhir sir's deliberations. But unfortunately, we may not be able to recollect. But Vijayawada branch has made you an arrangement wherein this deliberation has been recorded on YouTube. It will be available for you from tomorrow onwards to be replayed for any number of times. Thank you, sir. The session was very useful to revise whatever you have said, thanks to YouTube medium, wherein we can watch the important areas which are confusing to us. even when we listen to any number of times. So may I request the chairman of the Vijayawada branch to present a memento to the speaker as a mark of appreciation. I request also the other committee members to please join us. Please.
Okay, good.
I request all of you to join us for lunch in the third floor, backside, no? And we will rejoin after lunch. And the post lunch session will be commencing at 2:30 p.m. We request all of you to join us by that time. And also the PPT has been shared in the groups.
Fantastic as usual.